Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Beatrice, there he is, Bruce. He's got it. Touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Bohannon got in. Touchdown. Bears score.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Blitz coming. It's picked up. Prescott going for it all for Cooper. He's got it. Touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Thursday afternoon. Man, it got warm around here again. It's supposed to be warm throughout the next few days, and a little touch of the fall on occasion, but it is hot and humid. And here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We have Craig Smoak to my right, Paul Catalina to my left, Armstrong Sims in his Masters hat. He's going to wear until it tatters on the front. Is in the studio running the mothership, the genius. But today, he's not here right now because he's running errands for us, for Colt and for Sikkim 365. Armstrong, do we have a picture? Happy birthday to Jack McKenzie. Jack is out running tickets to various local high schools. I think he's been to university. He was on his way to Waco High. I believe he has already been to Midway and eventually might be at Connolly, La Vega, and I possibly think maybe even China Spring, I'm not sure, for some berm tickets that we are at Sikkim 365. We as a site bought tickets and then now are distributing those tickets for the game Saturday against West Virginia. So let me ask you this. On the way the Big 12 is played, what do you think? We saw what West Virginia, Oklahoma was like fighting, right? It was like a turf war. Same thing with Baylor and Oklahoma State. Is that what we also expect? Cole asked us for predictions today. I said 20-16 Baylor. I don't know if the game goes much above that. If it gets into a shootout, I'll be surprised.
I think I said 23-17. I think this is a conference that most of the games are going to be like that. I think 37-31 Oklahoma and Kansas State last week was going to be, it's a high-scoring game by Big 12 standards now. I think most games are going to be very close, within 6-7 points of each other most of the time, and come down to a score or maybe 10 points. I don't think they're going to see a lot of the Texas Tech games. I think that's going to be few and far between. I think Oklahoma and Texas this week will be probably a pretty strong indicator on the high end of that, but most of the games will be on the low end like Baylor and West Virginia should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting competitive games. I don't think there's anybody that's shown that they're that much better than anybody at this point. I mean, if you've seen them, tell me, because everybody looks pretty even to me, and that's why the deeper we get, the more fun it is to see who actually separates themselves. I mean, Oklahoma, they win this weekend, then they remain the odds-on favorite and will have a couple of the major tests behind them. Kansas State's been a bugaboo. They'll have already taken care of them. Texas, it's always a wild game, and UT's actually got real confidence this time, not the fake stuff that Tom Herman, would kind of pump his chest about, not the wins here and all of a sudden they're back in the top 25. No, they're actually winning games and doing it in a manner that means that they, could be on their way actually back this time and not just some sort of joke line that we make fun of over the last few years. So I'm fascinated by OU Texas this weekend. I really do think it could go either way. I don't think there will be one team that wins big, but maybe that happens. I mean, it's a crapshoot. I'm fascinated by this game, and I think all the games this weekend, outside of whoever plays Kansas throughout the rest of the few weeks, I think all the games will be close. Yeah, I mean, that's what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's fun. It used to be the games would be close, but they'd be 50-45, and it would be this way you get kind of a rhyme and a reason of what is going on, and we've seen Texas score 70 in a game against Texas Tech, but other than that, most of the games have been 31-29. Is that right? Baylor and Iowa State. The Oklahoma State won by 11 or so against Kansas State. Most of the games have been what I would consider more old school of what is going on. Does this game, other than the obvious, if somebody muffs a punt, if you have a block punt or somebody runs, there's going to be turnovers that happen. Does this come down to something as simple? 254-339-1122. The chat room's going crazy. The text line's open, so are the phone calls. And obviously want to get into Iowa and Penn State. We'll do that with a writer that covers Iowa here momentarily. Just come down to West Virginia has not been able to run the ball. If they do, they win. And Baylor has not been able to stop the run. So if they somehow contain the running game, do they win?
Yes. I mean, if they can contain Letty Brown and force Jarrett Doege to throw, I mean, he hadn't beat anybody throwing yet.
I disagree. I think that Jarrett Doege nearly won that game throwing last week. I mean, that was how they nearly came back. Was they were down 17-0, and he threw them into that game with probably his. I mean, some have said his best performance as a Mountaineer, one of his best performances as a Mountaineer. Barring Baylor being the first team to allow West Virginia to really run the football since Virginia Tech, because that was the last time Letty Brown had a big game. That was 3-4 weeks ago. They haven't been able to run since, outside of Garrett Green on occasion. I'd imagine we'll see a lot of Garrett Green this weekend, but it's Jarrett Doege throwing the football, unless Baylor has just suddenly forgot how to play defense. If they go out there and Letty Brown runs for 200 yards, then yeah, they're in trouble, but I wouldn't expect that to happen because this is a good defense, and everybody else has been able to stop him for the most part. So West Virginia's going to try to run the football, but I think you have to force Doege into being the one that beats you or doesn't beat you. And if he's on and he plays like he did in the second half last week, then you might be in trouble. But if he's the guy who played in the first half last week, well, then you're probably good. So I think this game comes down to Baylor's offense is what it comes down to. I think the defense is going to be able to, at least keep it within reason. But if Baylor's offense goes out there and they can't run the football, and that leads them into having to force the pass, and that's something that they didn't do very well last week, then I think they'll be in trouble. I think it's a game where, to me, Gary Bohannon has to play his best game as a Baylor Bear, and he has to do it throwing the football. And they have to obviously find a way to run the football, but they're going to have to throw, and he's going to have to connect, and receivers are going to have to catch the ball. If Baylor can get a passing game, they should win this game. If they can't get a passing game, that's exactly what West Virginia would want teed up, and that would work in their favor.
All right, Texas and Oklahoma, obviously another game, a huge game for many reasons. One, because Texas has won 2 in a row, looked good doing it. Oklahoma has been able to grind out wins and looked a little more, in flow, although they couldn't do much to stop Kansas State on 3rd and 4th downs. But you look up, they're undefeated. It's interesting when you're undefeated and yet people are picking at you. You'd rather be undefeated and people going, hey, what's going on here? So we'll take your thoughts and comments on that as well. Texas and Oklahoma and why at 254-339-1122 from Owen. This was from Owen on West Virginia. Let's see, where did it go? Here it goes. He goes, Doege is the reason West Virginia was in a hole that they were in, and he's right. And then also Daniel, I think it will be higher scoring. Maybe Doege does get loose. It will be interesting. I think it's 31-27 Baylor from Daniel.
Yeah, he had the interception and then the strip sack fumble, and it was 17-0 early. And then the final score, Texas Tech had 20 points. So you gave up 17 points, pretty much right away off of 2 crucial mistakes, and then you pretty much held them after that, and you were able to fight your way back into that game. in large part because Jarrett Doege was throwing the ball better than he has pretty much ever. So, again, I used the Spencer Sanders comparison yesterday. It's like that. It's like he's going to probably give you some opportunities like Spencer Sanders did last week. Spencer Sanders gave you 3 interceptions. You scored 0 points off. You scored 0 off 3 interceptions.
Not only that, Craig, not only did you not score if you're Baylor, but those were interceptions. A couple of them were, I think, down inside the red zone. Also keeps them off the board.
Yeah, you're already in West Virginia territory. You're knocking on the door of West Virginia territory, basically. So, yeah, I mean, if Jarrett Doege throws 3 interceptions, but you don't score, then that's on Baylor. I mean, that's to me, it's them having to take advantage of opportunities. But, who knows what version of him shows up? It could be the first half, could be the second half. What version of Gary Bohannon shows up? Because honestly,
is it the
guys,
first half against Iowa State or the last 3 quarters?
They haven't played well offensively consistently. Like, people point to the second half last week. That was 2 drives. Like, don't give me that, the offense played well in the second. They played okay. They played okay in comparison to the way they played terribly in the first half, but stringing together 2 whole drives out of the entire game is not going to get it done this weekend.
And let's not talk about a whole – I mean, I know it's part of a drive, but the first touchdown was Abram Smith breaking a long run.
Yeah, on a 4th and 1, right?
It wasn't what they have been doing of long, sustained, punishing drives. Since the second half of the Iowa State game, they haven't really moved the ball consistently. The first half of the Iowa State game was Gary Bohannon's opus. It was unbelievable.
I thought the first half of the Iowa State game, I was like, again, we know how good Iowa State is. I was like, my gosh, they were throwing not a perfect game, but they were dialing up one hell of a game plan against the Cyclones, and then they tightened it up, and Baylor did not react to it very well. Here is Caden. West Virginia did not win on the road last year, and so far this year they haven't won on the road either. And they're, of course, on the road on Saturday, 11 o'clock at McLean Stadium.
It's interesting that we're already, 5 weeks into the season, and TCU's just now having their first home game of the year, heading out to Lubbock. I believe that's correct.
Road game.
What did I say? Home game?
Yeah.
Road game of the year, whatever, heading out to Lubbock. Texas, we know, doesn't travel very much at all on their schedule. Like, they think they leave Texas twice or whatever the entire time. So, yeah, these schedules are about to ramp up and get interesting. We'll start to see, who's been solid at home, who's better on the road. But for West Virginia, there's a lot of questions, and you have that defense to rely on. I mean, that's going to be a tough challenge for this Baylor offense. I mean, like I say yesterday, you played – Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. Those 3 defenses back to back to back. That's part of why your offense is struggling, because all 3 of those defenses are really good. And hopefully they've learned some lessons the last couple of weeks, because it wouldn't surprise me one iota to see West Virginia line up this week. And guess what? Those safeties are going to be up, waiting. They're going to be crashing down. They're going to be getting into the backfield, and Baylor hadn't handled that very well. It's going to be a slightly different look than what Iowa State and Oklahoma State did, but both those teams showed some flaws in the Baylor offense and where they have not been able to overcome or get around some of those looks. So I'd expect that West Virginia defense to just be chomping at the bit.
Treston Ebner-Paul had no yards rushing.
Nope.
He did not really have any kind of a big play, not even in the passing game, and, of course, the return game, which helped them beat Iowa State. R.J. Sneed did not catch a pass. Taekwon had 3 catches, 52 yards, which is a nice average at 17 yards a pop.
But they missed him
deep.
But
they also missed some of those opportunities. I think they must find a way, not that now Estrada can't make a play or Abram Smith. They have to get one of those 3 something. They have to get them going. And I'm talking about not just involved. I'm talking about they have to hit something big. Some of the predictions that Oklahoma and Texas split down the middle. One's 42-31.
I will say.
Another one's Oklahoma 34-28 from Sooner JJ. They hold Bijan under 150 all-purpose yards and force Thompson to beat them.
Yeah, I want to get back to those and what people are saying, but one thing on West Virginia is if Letty Brown does run the ball effectively, that spells doom for Baylor this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And back to that, I think they need to get diverse with their playmaking. They need to get aggressive in the passing game. They're not really. They're not at all. Yeah. I mean, outside of a play here and there, they need to I think maybe even early have a possession where you're aggressive in the passing game.
Yeah, they need to be mindful of Garrett Green. I mean, I think Neil Brown at any point could really, kind of throw a curveball. Garrett Green's been appearing sporadically and, even got a drive last week and all that. And he's clearly their running threat, their biggest running threat, even bigger than Letty Brown is at this point because, they're just able to block better for Green running it from the quarterback spot than they are with Brown from the typical running back spot. But, yeah, Baylor defense is is going to have to be mindful of Green back there when he does come into the game, however often he does, because he does give them a different wrinkle, a different look offensively, and he is capable of running the football really well. So that's something that's hurt them at times as well, is not being able to contain guys. So I'm sure they'll see a mix, but yeah, the worst formula for them would be West Virginia suddenly finding a running game with Letty Brown, Jarrett Dagey throwing like he did in the second half last week, and Garrett Green getting yards on the ground.
Well,
That would be like the absolute worst formula for Baylor this weekend defensively.
Bill Ding Speed, here's the chat. This is, you wonder when this might happen. It happened with A&M. That's Bill Ding Speed. God, I love that. I predict that Oklahoma-Texas crowd will begin chanting SEC at some point during the game. Who knows? We know that when A&M left, it started to have that chant, even in women's basketball games in that regional final that was up in Dallas when Gary Blair went on to win a national title.
They could have 4 more years left in this thing. They don't want to make it more awkward.
Yeah, don't peak too early.
I think we probably will hear some SEC chants. Maybe it's in unison at the start of the game or something. I don't know. Both fan bases seem pretty happy with the move, and you know, it is weird. They do seem like sort of the odd men out, but they're still involved. You know what I mean? It's like OU and Texas are still Big 12 teams. They're still firmly in the mix, but it's like the attitudes are just have gone such separate ways that it's like they're here, but it's not like it typically would be. You know what I mean? It's like they're on their way out. So I don't know. And they certainly got the on their way out welcome from fans last weekend. Oklahoma did in Manhattan. They were definitely having fun with the whole SEC move out there, and that's the way I'm sure it will be at road trips the rest of the way. But yeah, those two playing together, I'm sure we'll hear some form of SEC chant.
All right, the phones are all lit up. We'll have to kind of keep it within reason. 254-339-1122. We want to hear from you, and let's go.
All right, we got 4 calls on the line. Michael in Augusta.
God, what a lucky guy.
You're on.
Hey.
Yeah, you're the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
All right. 2 things I wanted to touch on. The first thing being, if Oklahoma nor Texas manage to get into the playoff this year, what are the chances you think that they're going to bounce the SEC next year?
I don't know about next year. I think there's too much that has to happen scheduling-wise, and I don't think the playoff really would have anything to do with it, Michael. And thanks for your call.
I think it's going to be July of 2023 is probably where most people think at some point that's what happens. That's also the time period when Brigham Young will be available to get into the Big 12 as well.
Can you imagine if it's another year and a half? I mean, that's going to be insane.
Remember when all this went down and the Big 12 was not only on the canvas, they were like basically almost knocked out. There were thoughts that maybe after this year, that's tapped the brakes quite a bit. And Oklahoma, Texas have to politically say what they have to say, legally have to say what they have to say. But I would think that perhaps the summer of 23 is when you might see actual movement and might be the timeline that everyone's trying to get to. They just have to iron it all out.
Yeah, to the caller's point, I mean, that would be a great way to introduce yourselves to the SEC. We go make the playoff and then have whatever showing you have there, probably against an SEC team. You know, good odds of that. And then, you know, especially they'll probably have half the field, so you'd have to play an SEC team if you made the playoff. But yeah, that'd be a nice thought. There's far too much, I think, to have to check off before they're able to do that. It's not that you were implying it, but it's not as easy as just like, hey, you know, we're moving now. You got a lot of different things that have to get in order and checked off and all of that before you can make a full-scale move like that.
Basically, the simplest way to put it is Oklahoma and UT cannot leave until the other schools are in.
Yeah.
Because the remaining 8 need to replace those games on their schedules and conference games on their schedules and Power 5 membership on their schedule. So that like all those on their schedule, on their list of things to do. So until Texas and Oklahoma or until the other teams are in, you know, the other 4 are in, then the other 2 can't come. You know, they can't go. So, I don't think, and the playoff would have nothing to do with it. That would just be one of those things that the SEC go, ha ha.
Yeah, it'd just be a momentum thing. Like, hey, look at them walking in here with their playoff, appearance.
Another call, but Derwake, Wreckham, Texas Tech 4-1, now 5-1 after we whipped TCU, 6-1 after we beat Kansas. Are we dark horses?
I was doing my little power rankings thing I do each week for the site, and I was having a hard time of where to place Texas Tech because their record is good, but I was going and I'm like, do I think that they beat this team? No. Do I think that they beat this team? No. Do I think that they beat this team? No. So I kind of still have them towards the bottom of the rankings just because I don't think that they're better right now than Oklahoma State or Oklahoma or Texas or even TCU. But, like, if they win this weekend, then I'm going to have no choice, and I'll be glad to bump them up like 2 or 3
They'll be
spots.
7 of 12 games into the season.
Right,
yeah.
but the way that they've won, like, I don't do it just based off records. I do it based on just like more eye test and the records as well. So to me, they have been a nice surprise, especially having the record that they have and overcoming what they have. Like, that's the thing that Tech, I mean, they lose Tyler Shuck, sure, but they also lost a starting safety. They didn't have Eason Kama last week. Luckily, their transfer wide receiver, Geiger, has been very good for them. So they get Eason Kama back, Geiger back, running back injuries heal up as well, because that's also been a problem. You know, whenever Tyler Shuck may come back, or maybe they roll with Columbi, you know, that's a nice formula to go on a second-half run. So I give Matt Wells a lot of credit for just being able to, you know, overcome all these different pieces of adversity they faced, whether it's the close games or it's the injuries. Last week, blowing a 17-0 lead, and you still managed to win.
And also on the road after being obliterated, and you had a lot of people out.
Yeah, you got your butts kicked the week before, embarrassed by Texas, and you had tons of people out once again. You're on the road in Morgantown. You blow a 17-0 lead, and you still win. So it's been shaky, but if Tech goes and beats TCU this weekend, it's also homecoming in Lubbock. We know Gary Patterson's like one loss away from absolutely losing his mind based on his quotes the last 2 weeks. So this is shaping up to me to be a very interesting game. And if Tech wins, they deserve a lot more attention.
Yeah, one more loss, and you better not throw a Frisbee onto his lawn because he's keeping it.
254-339-1122.
And one thing on Patterson, the only thing that would have sent him into meltdown mode would have been if they were playing Baylor this week and they lost, because you've lost to Texas, who we know he hates, SMU, who we know he hates. Like the trifecta would have been like a third loss to Baylor.
Yeah, no, he would have been in a fetal position. No question.
But Tech could send him very well in that way as well.
All right, Jesse in Virginia, thanks for your call.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Jesse, go ahead, man. Thanks for the call.
Hey, man. That's just heard that one beep there, and then you guys was there. I was going to say, first I want to say, man, y'all have a great show, and I wish our Mountaineer Nation had guys like you all that covered the Mountaineers the way y'all cover Baylor. Man, y'all do an awesome job.
Thank you.
Being a Mountaineer fan for as long as I've been a Mountaineer fan, it looks like this is going to be a game with you guys this weekend where the defense has played their hearts out so much, and the offense has done such a horrible job of giving them any benefit whatsoever that they're going to play their hearts out through the first half, and it's going to be a game Baylor runs off with in the second half, and it's going to be like 37-17 Baylor.
Wow,
thanks for the call. That would be interesting. Thank you, Jesse.
If they beat West Virginia by 3 touchdowns, that would be surprising to me, just because West Virginia's played nothing but close games so far, and the unfortunate part for West Virginia is they just haven't been able to finish. I mean, they've been losing to field goals within the last 2 minutes of the game or walking off or whatever. They've been in every game. That's the thing, is you can't just look at their record and say, oh, well, they're kind of – no, I mean, they're just like a couple of things away from winning all of those games. Like, they're a couple of plays away from being 4-1 right now, walking in, rather than being, 2-3 or whatever. So, if Baylor's able to pull away like that, then I think that would be pretty impressive, because I'm not expecting a blowout in any way against that West Virginia defense.
If outside of the Texas Southern game, Baylor hasn't scored 5-6 touchdowns.
No.
So, I mean, that's not what that's not really their MO. So it'd be surprising.
But I do think you're right. It's going to be a defensive battle. And then whichever offense, because they've both been very up and down, whichever offense is able to get a little bit of daylight, I think that whoever can get a lead, especially if you can get a 2-score lead somehow or another, even like 10 points, I think that, would be huge for either team. But I do expect a close ball game. But, hey, if you're right, feel free to call back in and let us know. Thank you for the call.
Yeah. By the way, Virginia is for lovers. It's also for back-to-back callers, because Owen from Virginia is on the line. Owen, thanks for your call on the Bet US caller line.
Hey, I appreciate it. I don't know why the narrative coming out of Morgantown, and Jed Drenning yesterday had pointed that, talked about this too, and the fact that, I don't know why the narrative in Morgantown is that Garrett Green can't run an offense. Garrett Green can't throw the ball. All he's good for is running the ball. I don't get that, because obviously he threw the ball and read a defense well enough to get the backup position and a scholarship at a Power 5 school. So I don't know what the deal is with that narrative coming out of Morgantown that Garrett Green is not as good of a quarterback as Jarrett Doege. And Morgantown could talk about Jarrett Doege's stats all they want, but his stats don't translate onto the field. He was the reason we got in that hole in the first half against Texas Tech. So what do y'all see out of Garrett Green, and why do you think it is that narrative is coming out from Morgantown that Garrett Green isn't as good? Because one of our best drives was in the second quarter when Garrett Green just drove it down the field. He threw the ball as well. So I just don't understand it. I want him at least to put in Garrett Green for at least a half or two.
I think from when we've spoken with those who cover West Virginia or others, it's that Green's problem, they feel like, is that he takes off too quickly, that he doesn't wait that extra half a second. That's sometimes damned if you do, damned if you don't. Gary Bohannon is the complete opposite. I love the fact he stays in the pocket, but there's a few times when he has the ability to make a move, and he's a half a split second late. Because when he does, he usually does something with it. So that's the only thing I've heard from, at least when I've paid attention to what's being said about West Virginia's quarterback play.
Yeah, I've watched Garrett Green, and I think I have that kind of similar thing with Gary. Sometimes I'm like, go, Gary, go now, go. And you do it. And then with Garrett, you're like, whoa.
And we don't know the reins. Every day what they're doing inside meetings, practice, film work. We don't know what that equation is like.
And I'll also tell you right now, if you're Neil Brown, one of the things you might be trying to do is, look, you've got this guy, Garrett Green, who's going to be really good for you based on what we've seen so far. Like one day he's going to be really, really good for you, but you don't want him to see ghosts. You don't want him to get haunted by something. Sometimes the more athletic quarterback or the guy of the future doesn't play because the rest of the team isn't ready for him. And we saw that last year at Baylor in that Charlie Brewer was the sacrificial lamb. I mean, he absolutely was. They needed Charlie Brewer to take that punishment. They needed him to do all that. It was unfortunate for Charlie, but Jacob Zeno and Gary Bohannon weren't ready for it. They weren't ready for it.
Or at least the coaches
weren't ready.
Didn't think they were, and they were trying to say, "Hey, let's not ruin all three of them."
Yeah. So they did what they did, and I'd liken it to a relief pitcher or a pitcher who goes in, he gives up 9 runs, the bullpen's cashed, and you're like, listen, we need you to get to the 4th.
Yeah.
So stay out here and take some lumps.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just simply a matter of, having the full faith in Green to be able to do everything that they want him to do. When you've seen him in there throwing the football, there hasn't been a lot of down the field stuff because he hasn't proven that he can make those throws, or unless they believe that they don't trust him to make those throws. So a lot of it has been limited to, him running the football or RPOs, things like that. I just think that they're, building that trust. And you look at Daggy. Daggy's got a ton of experience, right? I mean, it may not be, like to your point, the numbers telling the full tale of, really how he factors into this football team, but he does have a lot of experience. So West Virginia starting the meat of the schedule, and yes, already having a couple of lumps, but not being quite out of it yet, although they lose this weekend. Their Big 12 hopes are pretty much toast.
West Virginia?
They're toast.
Yeah.
So, if they lost this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if you then saw them maybe open it up for Garrett Green more. But until they feel like as long as they feel like they're in the race, so to speak, I think they're going to still want to have that seniority and that experience with Jared Daggy, if that makes sense, because there's just a trust there that he can do all of the things that they want him to do. And with Green, there's some things that they like that he can do, but there's also some things they don't quite trust him to do yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's not that Daggy does everything right or they trust him. It's just they do trust him, but he's one of those, he'll throw a pick, but he's not going to go into a fetal position. I've used that too often already today. He's not going to just go, oh, my God. He's not going to see ghosts. He's already seen his ghosts, and sometimes he still does with a young quarterback. And that's one of the things when Gary Bohannon took that hit against Iowa State. It's not like he's never been hit before, but we'll see where he's been since then. He kind of then all of a sudden was not quite the same. That doesn't mean he's scared. It doesn't mean he won't take off. That doesn't mean he won't stand in the pocket. He did that against Oklahoma State. But one of the things that a young quarterback can do is you can mess him up. Now, it's different in the college. Is it different in college than the NFL when you start to lose? The NFL, do you go to a young quarterback earlier? Or in college, do you still?
College goes way quicker, I feel like. In the NFL, you got to basically kill a guy to get him out of a starting spot half the time.
Yeah.
You're Ben Roethlisberger's not getting benched as much as the media wants to make that a narrative. You ask the Steelers, and what is the Steelers' response? Bench Smith, we're what? To go to our backup? Are you insane? There's not in college, you have the 5-star freshman that's waiting in the wings or whatever, or you have a Garrett Green.
But Green is, Daggy's a redshirt senior.
Yeah, he's very experienced.
Does he have another year?
Oh God, don't ask me that. I don't know. Like
but
with all this stuff,
who knows? I mean, that might be a part of the equation as well.
I do think too.
Says here on the site that he's a redshirt senior. So.
Yeah, but I don't know, extra years and all that crap. Like we don't. It's so hard to figure out.
He might have 4 years left.
Yeah,
we don't know.
I mean, but I do also think that when their offensive line is okay, they don't have a run game. Like they have very little run game outside of when Green does it. So do you want the young kid in there having to throw you to a win with an offensive line that's a little bit shaky and no run game? Or do you want a better situation for him so he can feel comfortable making those throws that you need to see him make and have something to balance that out? Rather than going in there and feeling like he has to do it all himself, which clearly he is not afraid to call his own numbers. So, yeah, I just think it's Daggy's experience and Green still need to show some things is what's preventing that.
Owen and Caden, he's got another year. Then S. Michael DeHart. Yes, he has another year, unfortunately, but that could play into it as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Whether he is the future or not, he still has time left.
I'm with you, though. Like I understand why everybody's clamoring to see more of Green, but I think it's smarter to be more careful with him than just throwing him out there.
He's a fifth-year senior. He played at Bowling Green, transferred to West Virginia. He's been there twice, redshirted his junior year, which would have been in 19. So he has at least, he has the 1 year left. And it depends on how you look at it. Paul?
Yeah. All right, Chris in Missouri, you're on Sikkim 365 Radio. Thanks for your call.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Hey, I am excited for you guys because as a Pitt fan, there's only 3 games we ever get up for, and one of them is West Virginia. I'll share some of my experiences with West Virginia as a fan watching the games. The first thing is West Virginia always plays better on the road than they do at home. I don't know if they get stressed out playing in front of their fans if it's close, but if they're on the road, they're a tough team. First thing to do is commit to the run. And if Baylor's smart, they will run it down their throat and stick with that because it kind of wears down the West Virginia defense going into the fourth quarter. Second thing is play clean because West Virginia will hit you hard and they'll try and strip the ball. So if you're a running back, hold on to that ball at all causes. And the last thing is hammer down. If you get a lead, a 10-point lead, do not stop. Keep hammering them because West Virginia is always looking for that momentum swing. That's just my thoughts, and appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate that. By the way, we will have a writer that covers Pitt, the Panthers. It was going to be today. We moved it to tomorrow. Yes, to discuss your quarterback Pickett and also discuss Pitt Panthers football as well.
Yeah, appreciate that preview of sorts for West Virginia. Some good insight there, and interesting comment on the defense and running the football. I do think Baylor's going to keep, pounding the rock, and I guess their sort of motto this year, I forget the exact way that Aranda phrased it, but basically just pounding the rock. Or no, that's it, isn't it? It's pounding the rock, and it's not just directed at purely running the football. It's basically like just sledgehammering away at a big boulder until you finally make it crack, and then, it cracks further, and that's kind of their mentality. And I expect that they will try and do that with the running game. Even if West Virginia stuffs it early, they will keep going to that well because that's what makes this Baylor offense run. But to do that, they're going to have to find some success in the passing game early, even if it's just a couple of throws, because otherwise, with that defense, West Virginia is just going to be able to key in and make life hell for Jeff Grimes and Gary Bohannon. So they got to hit a couple throws, but they will definitely continue running the football whether it's working or not. We saw that last week.
A lot of you are talking West Virginia Baylor. A lot of you are discussing some Tech fans. In fact, Dur Wake's a part of that. He's the one that asked us about if they win against TCU, they're 6-1.
Got to talk about it.
Yeah. And then, of course, Texas and Oklahoma. It's kind of split on the predictions. Both the predictions I saw were high, like 41-38 and 34-28. And who knows with that. One thing I remember about Texas Tech, and Texas beat the hell out of them, is they gave up some big plays in that game despite the win. But I don't know. Again, Oklahoma's not doing that. So maybe this is an opportunity. Who knows if they can get one of those or two early. We got to take a break. We'll come back, Craig. Continue your thought when we come back. At 3:45, we check in on the Iowa Hawkeyes, that game with Penn State. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. If you have a pickup truck and you are looking to try to cover it up, or protect it, the bed of your pickup truck, if it doesn't already have any kind of a liner, Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco can help you out. They can find the right cover for your truck to keep things private and also even secure when it comes to covers. And then, of course, there are liners as well, covering the entire inside of the bed of your truck, keeping the bottom as well as the sides from getting scratched up if that's what you want. You can either do a plastic drop-in or Pickup Outfitters Armadillo spray and liner. That's available as well. That comes with Pickup Outfitters' famous lifetime warranty. And if you want to keep things from sliding around inside the pickup bed, because they know how to do that, they have rubber mat cushion, custom fit cushions and liners as well to put inside of the bed of your pickup truck. Pickup Outfitters, CreateAComotion.com, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Allen Samuels, we're proud to announce that Dodge is the #2 brand overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. We've got amazing offers this month, so let our team help find the new 2021 Dodge vehicle that's right for you.
Come by. Let's be friends.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram. Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the Bet US hotline, 254-339-1122.
All right, we're back. Craig, you had a comment right before we went to the break. Then we have a call. Then we'll have Kennington Smith with us to discuss Iowa and Penn State at 3:45 today.
Yeah, for the commenter that was talking about the high-scoring game, I mean, I could definitely see that from UT's standpoint. I mean, they've been putting up a boatload of points with Bijan Robinson just running wild, basically. I mean, Casey Thompson's going to have to prove that he can hit some deep throws this week, which is something that he has not done yet. But if he does, and you have the type of talent they have at wide receiver, that's when UT will hit that next level. And I would imagine they are going to take some shots this week to test that Sooners defense. But once they can prove they can effectively throw over the top with Casey Thompson, that's when things get kind of scary for Sarkisian's offense and teams that have to play it because of what Bijan's already proven that he could do. But I could definitely see a high-scoring game. What's weird about it, though, is my only hesitance in going right along with you is just, can Oklahoma score all those points? Because, I think they can, but their offense has been very shaky at times, whether it be the offensive line or the lack of a run game. Now, Texas has shown they'll give up some running yards, so that's good news for the Sooners. But, nothing would shock me, in this game this weekend. Nothing would shock me.
Yeah, and, Oklahoma's offense hasn't been very good. Texas' offense has. Oklahoma's defense has been better. Texas's offense or defense has been worse.
But you know what? Oklahoma's defense, Paul, they couldn't get Kansas State off the field.
Yeah,
and they don't have even with what's the great young kid that gets loose all the time. I'm going to blank on his name. They don't have the kind of weapons that Texas has.
No, I mean just saying overall, if you we're balancing. Who's better on each side of the ball. Oklahoma, for the stretch of the season, has been better on defense than Texas has. Texas has been better on offense than Oklahoma has. But when they get in the Cotton Bowl, most of the time, it doesn't make sense how the game goes.
Well, the game's going to come down to what it always comes down to in the Cotton Bowl. That's who's the most physical team.
Yeah.
That's going to be who it is.
That's exactly right.
Whoever the most physical football team is on Saturday, that will be the team that wins that football game.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know what to say there, but
just go to
But let's go to Vancouver, Washington. You're on BetUS.com or BetUS hotline.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
You there?
guys, good day.
Okay.
First thing I want to say is you guys are a refreshing breath of air for the sports radio talk.
Thank you.
Post-COVID or whatever it's going to be. But I just have a comment and then a question for you guys, since you're so insightful. For all you Shorthorn fans out there, listen, guys, it ain't going to happen. And the reason why it's not going to happen is because Oklahoma's not going to let it happen. And like Mr. Smoak was saying, look, this game could go a lot of ways. There could be a lot of points scored. It's not going to happen Saturday for you. So, get your Kool-Aid, your beer, stock up, okay, and get ready, okay, because it's coming, and Oklahoma's going to be prepared, and we're going to walk out of the Cotton Bowl winner. And the other question I had for you guys was the Oklahoma Notre Dame, play like a champion deal.
Yeah.
Is this a combination of the media, or is this some has-been, Notre Dame coach going out there and sticking his ears out? And one, why does it matter? And two, how do you see that going forward?
Notre Dame has to recover from what was a tough loss to a hell of a team. It's not like they lost to a name brand. But Cincinnati, in my opinion, has earned now being a name brand. But we understand how the hierarchy is in college football.
I do think he was asking about the play like a champion.
That's a sign that's been up in the tunnel.
There's been a whole thing about it. Lou Holtz has the rights to it now because he applied for the trademark, and so now he technically owns it. The fight is that Bud Wilkinson was doing that years and years before. The whole motto of play like a champion. And so Sooners fans say, hey, that's actually an OU thing originally. But technically, legally, Lou Holtz has the trademark to it. So he can market play like a champion as though it was his, even though he was not the one that coined it.
It's like three-peat. Remember that people had used the term three-peat, right? And then Pat Riley said, does anyone have the rights to three-peat? And now he has that.
Yeah, so, that's a missed mark. That's a missed opportunity for Oklahoma, I think.
If they had it, which apparently they did.
They had plenty of time to trademark it and have it be their own thing. And so you got to give, Lou Holtz a little bit of credit. It's going nobody's got this trademarked? Okay, I'll trademark it. But, that's a Bud Wilkinson thing.
So does that mean if a team puts that in their tunnel on the way to the field, they can't put it up without getting clearance from Lou Holtz?
I'm not a –
or sell it.
Well, they can't sell any shirts with play like a champion on it. They can't.
I could paint "Let's Get Ready to Rumble" on the wall as long as I'm not making any.
Right.
I don't have to pay Michael Buffer for that as long as I'm making any money off of it.
Okay.
Yeah, the Bud Wilkinson thing goes all. He was coaching back. They had it in the 40s, so a little bit before Lou Holtz was talking about play like a champion. But that's just a legal thing. That's a slip up on OU's part. They had decades to trademark that, and Lou Holtz just swooped in, whether right or wrong. Legally, it's It's right, but yeah, I think that was a missed opportunity.
He was also incredibly positive. You were, thanks for the call, very confident about Oklahoma taking care of business against Texas.
Yeah, and I don't know, I think if you look at the history, Oklahoma definitely has an argument for that motto. I don't know if they're, because I haven't followed up on it, if they're trying to pursue or argue against, Holtz's claim or whatever. But last I had seen was Holtz had the trademark and had won it and all of that, and he can market it and do everything he wants to do with it. But yeah, it's a lot of confidence for OU. I mean, this is a fascinating game, don't y'all think?
It is, because you feel like about the time that you believe in Texas, they are almost identical, parallel to the Cowboys. That about the time you believe in them, they'll blank the bed.
But they won't, just like the Cowboys, OU's not be the time that they blank the bed. They'll blank the bed against somebody who's way worse.
Yeah, maybe
it could be West Virginia or something like that, where they just don't.
This is a game in which Charlie Strong beat Oklahoma. Tom Herman in Sam Ehlinger's sophomore year beat Oklahoma, then had to play him again in the Big 12 title game, and Kyler Murray was unbelievable in that game. Last year the game went 4 overtimes, and Oklahoma was twice as good as a football team. So you don't know. But I'm curious about this because it doesn't seem like Oklahoma has that explosion. Maybe they can grind it with Kennedy Brooks and whatever. I don't know. I think if it gets, I just don't know about this one. But that's the way I've said that for 35 years when it comes to these two. There's no way in 2000, Oklahoma won the national title. No one saw that coming. Remember that game they played Texas, and they beat the crap out of them. A couple of years in a row, put up bunches of numbers. No one saw that coming. You never know. It ought to be fun. Thanks for the call from Vancouver, Washington. All right, we got to come back with a break. We'll come back with Kennington Smith III. He covers Iowa, Penn State, Iowa, number 3 and number 4. That's coming up this weekend. We'll highlight Iowa next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
If you are looking to buy a home or sell the one you're in, look, it's a seller's market right now. You need to call my friend Lance Dalton, a Dalton family team brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedalton.exprealty.com, or just Google him. Lance is going to help you get that great price for your house in the seller's market, and then make sure that you can save some of that money you made on the great deal of your house and don't spend it all on the house that you bought. You need a realtor to help you guide you through a crazy market, and that's what we have right now. So call Lance, 254-214-3713, or online, lancedalton.exprealty.com.
At long last, it's time for some college football. Bird Collision Ford proudly supports the Baylor Bears as they take the field this season. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Collision Ford. We have some great vehicles available this season as well, so come check out our winning lineup of new Fords. Let's cheer the Bears on to victory and celebrate by buying a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sikkim Bears.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Hell of a game in the top 25. Well, not actually the top 25, but go down inside the top 5. Penn State, Iowa. What an unbelievable matchup it is in the Big Ten. The West against the East. Kennington Lloyd Smith III joins us, the Des Moines Register. We've had him on before. Iowa played Iowa State, and Iowa keeps rolling. Kennington, thanks for your time again. It looks as if the Hawkeyes are prime. Penn State's playing well. How much fun is this game this week?
This is the game of the century for Iowa football, and that is not an exaggeration. This is the first top 5 matchup in a few decades for Iowa, first top 5 matchup for Penn State since 1999. The center of the college football universe is going to be centered in on Iowa at 3 o'clock Central Time for this game. Huge playoff implications, and for Iowa specifically, this is a huge opportunity to advance their national brand and a huge opportunity to impress recruits. It's going to be an unbelievable recruiting weekend, 4 or 5 stars in attendance for this game to see what Iowa has going on. So it really can't be understated how important this opportunity is for Iowa, and an important opportunity for Penn State also as they're jockeying for playoff position.
What do you think the swing in this game is going to be? Both these teams play great defense. On offense, they're not what you call prolific, but they're not exactly, slugs either. What do you think is the swing in this game?
I think that is going to be limiting quarterback Sean Clifford's ability to extend the play with his legs. 2 years ago when Penn State came to Iowa, Clifford was a quarterback. He extended 3 different drives on third down by scrambling and extending that drive with his legs. That's something that's going to be an area of emphasis for Iowa's defense this week. And additionally, getting pressure on him, not letting him have a clean pocket. He's one of the most accurate passers in the country with a clean pocket. And when you have a receiver like Jahan Dotson and his big play ability, that could spell big trouble for Iowa. So it's kind of a strength-on-strength matchup here. Iowa limits the big play. Penn State likes to go big play with Clifford and Dotson's connection. So that's going to be what I'm looking for, is how they can limit Clifford to mobility and get pressure on him so he's not able to find Dotson down the field.
Kennington, Iowa's got like double the interceptions versus receiving touchdowns they've given up. I mean, talk a little bit about that secondary and just the type of performance they've had. Obviously, you mentioned Dotson and Clifford, and that connection will be all important. But that's, on the Penn State side of things, they're looking at like, okay, how do we make this work against this Iowa secondary? So what's made them so special?
Well, I think that is important to note that they are returning all 5 starters from last year's team. And these are multiple year starters. So when you talk about compound interest of snaps, coming into this year, this secondary had 68 combined starts. So this is one of the most experienced secondaries in the country. Iowa's led the nation in interceptions the last several years. So this is a group that's experienced. They know how to be in position for interceptions, and they know how to capitalize on those opportunities. So credit defensive coordinator Phil Parker for having them prepared and allowing them to be in position to make these plays. I mean, they are one of the best zone coverage teams in the country. And when being put in that position and just having that kind of preparation and that attention to detail, when you have experienced starters like this, you really don't have to spend as much time bringing them up to speed on the system and where they're positioned on the field and offensive formations, because they already know those things. Then they can really kind of get into the more intricacies of understanding, offensive schemes. And that is really what allows them to be in position to jump routes and to get the interception. So extremely experienced group and honestly a special group, probably one of the better secondaries that Iowa's ever seen.
If you could try to give us an analogy of some sort of a piece of equipment, how would you describe Iowa's defense?
Oh, man, probably like lunch pail. I think I would say lunch pail for this reason. After their 6th interception performance against Maryland, a reporter asked cornerback Riley Moss if Iowa participates in kind of like the gimmick celebration, Savage pads at Georgia or the turnover chain. And Riley Moss said, we don't do that at Iowa. We're really like a blue-collar team. We just go out and get interceptions. You get an attaboy, and then we go back out there and do it again. So they pride themselves on work, and they pride themselves on kind of doing their job. So if I could compare them to anything, lunch pail, blue-collar, hardworking, grinding, put your head down type of mentality.
I just got the mental image in my head of a player asking Kirk Ferentz if they could do something like that, and him not even just saying words, just staring them down until they slunk back out of the office.
Turnover chain at Iowa.
I don't think that would happen.
Yeah, we had Phil Parker for our assistant availability on Zoom yesterday, and somebody said, excuse my ignorance, but do you do anything like that? And Phil Parker just gave this very straight face, and he, kind of went into this little spiel about how the honor is leaving the game, and the respect for the game is kind of fading a little bit with the whole celebrations, and is that what we do it for? So very, old school type of mentality, but I mean that's the Iowa way, and it's been successful for 2 decades now under Ferentz and Parker.
Yes, it has. I mean, no need to change something that's working, like you said, Kennington. For the Penn State defense, looking at Iowa's offense, I mean, obviously there's that physicality, there's all of that, but where are you looking on that Iowa offense? Is it a guy like a Tyler Goodson? Is it the quarterback spot? What do you think is key for the Hawkeyes offensively?
They are definitely going to have to get the running game going. This has been an area of focus, even an area of concern that you could say that we up here in local media have been focusing on for the first few weeks. Is Iowa's running game is not executing at the same clip that they were executing at last year, where Goodson was first team All Big Ten. There are obviously a few reasons for that. They lost several starters on the offensive line. They have a very young group. They lost senior college Shot to injury. So now Shot is back. He started at left guard. It was his first start of the season last week against Maryland. We kind of saw the gears turning for the offensive line a little bit. So that being said, Penn State is going to stack the box just like every other team has done against Iowa this year. So it's really a matter of Iowa's line executing at the high level they did against Maryland and get the run game going. And then that's going to open up a lot of things for Petrus in the pass game, which has really evolved in the last few weeks.
Kennington, be smart here and tell me the truth. You think first team that scores wins, right? Isn't that it's 3-0, 2-0, 6-0, whatever it is? Game's over, right?
If we're talking about these defenses and how prolific they are, it could be the first to 7 wins because first might be hard to come by. The over-under, I think, is only like 40, 41 points.
Yeah.
So they're really not expecting, too much scoring going on. So it's going to be very important to capitalize on scoring opportunities. Let's say a team goes down there, they're in scoring range, the game is slow moving, you don't capitalize on that opportunity, you don't know when you're going to have that chance again. So getting an opportunity to score, it might just be the first team that scores wins the game, depending on kind of how the gameplay is flowing.
Thank you, Kennington. Great to have you on again. Appreciate it. Enjoy the atmosphere. I know you will. Number 3 and number 4, Iowa, Penn State, coming up Saturday. And it is the best game based on numbers. You have Texas, OU, Auburn, Georgia, even that intriguing game, Brigham Young, Boise State, and some Big 12 games or whatever else. That one is the game.
Yeah, game days at Dallas,
Yep.
and I get it. I get it. The Red River rivalry shootout, whatever you want to call it. I get it because Texas is right there in the back half of the top 25. I think we all know that a win for them in Dallas, regardless of how it is, would boost them quite a bit. And obviously Oklahoma's sitting right there in the top 5. So I get it. But, man, I wonder what the debate was like of which game do we go to, because that Penn State-Iowa game has every reason to be game day location this week, and that should be fun even though it's not officially.
When we come back, Max Olson, national college football writer. We will feature again tomorrow. We'll discuss Pittsburgh and Penn State. We've now looked at Iowa and, among others, Texas and Oklahoma, Baylor, West Virginia. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Marco's Pizza. Was watching a television commercial the other day. May have been during the baseball playoff game last night. The Dodgers win when Taylor hit the home run. And it's just a great pizza. We get them delivered here on occasion from the Belle Meade location, 4 locations in Waco, Belle Meade, Woodway, the new location at Robinson, and also as well on China Spring Road. Authentic Italian pizza. There are over 1,000 Marco's Pizza stores around the country. Most loved pizza brand, hot online deals as well. And, of course, they have that famous original sauce as well as 3-cheese blend. And the pizza sauce has been going on from day one, back when they first opened their first store back in 1978. 4 locations in Waco. I love the slogan, pizza lovers get it.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus. And best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects. With 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, here we go.
And here is Nix. Into the end zone for an Auburn touchdown. What a way to start the fourth quarter.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, we've discussed Iowa, Penn State 3-4. Obviously, Texas, Oklahoma. We focused in on the game Baylor home against West Virginia. There's a couple of others. Max Olson, national college football writer for theathletic.com, joins us on 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. Max, let's start with Texas OU. How intriguing game. Oklahoma's unbeaten, but there's kind of what appear to be some warts. Not sure if they kind of were able to get moving a little bit last week at the end of the game. Their defense at times has been suspect. They don't have the big playability, but they're undefeated. Are people picking on them too much?
It's funny. I feel like we're all kind of just sitting here waiting for Oklahoma to drop 50 on somebody, and they just keep playing really close games that go through the fourth quarter. And look, I mean, that's probably a credit to the teams they've been playing lately that, K-State and West Virginia and Nebraska can play good defense and have challenged them. And I think there's clearly kind of a blueprint now in terms of playing Oklahoma, in terms of trying to hold on to the ball and limit possessions and get them in a spot where they're running fewer plays. But I'm fascinated to see how they show up for this one. I think the Texas defense is pretty susceptible. It's not playing that great right now, but Texas does have an offense that can put up a lot of points as well. So I do think we're kind of setting up for a shootout here with a lot of kind of fun matchups within that game.
Will this win completely legitimize Texas, or would you be worried about them getting snake bit again towards the end of the year?
I don't know if they'd run the table or anything if they beat Oklahoma, but that's also a product of this Big 12 and just how competitive it's going to be. There's going to be a lot of close games. I think they have to go to Ames in November. Like, there's going to be some tough ones for them still if they find a way to win this one. But this is a huge opportunity for Steve Sarkisian. I mean, that goes without saying, I know, but I think that there's certainly a lot of positive momentum for them right now. They found a way to get over that hump of finally beating TCU. Certainly made a lot of mistakes in the process. And, if you make mistakes against Oklahoma, you're going to lose this game. So it's going to take a really clean performance. It always does. And with these games, we've had new coaches come into this rivalry a lot over the last decade. For me, it always comes down to who's the more physical team, who's better up front, O-line, D-line. And, I think the Oklahoma D-line probably has an important edge here over the Texas O-line. So I'm curious to see how that one plays out. And can Casey Thompson have time to, make plays on third downs and spread the ball down the field?
Max, is that the one thing that you're waiting to see from Casey Thompson is his effectiveness down the field? It seems like Saturday would be a prime opportunity for him, to hit it and Xavier Worthy or someone like that and really open things up for Bijan in that running game. Is that like the missing piece for you as far as Casey Thompson, who hasn't been asked to do too much at this point?
They were just good enough against TCU in terms of the passing game, but he had a lot of drops. I think Sark does a really good job of drawing it up and getting run pass balance. And certainly when Bijan's playing as well as he is, it gives them a chance to set things up and go, take shots over the top. They did that in the first play against TCU. They're going to do it against Oklahoma, but there were a lot of drops from receivers, just a lot of things that were just a little bit off. And so I'll be curious to see if they can hit those against Oklahoma. And, I think one thing that's impressed me in the past couple of games in this rivalry, excuse me, I think Alex Rich has done a really great job in these games, especially with sort of how he's brought pressure. It was obviously a really high-scoring game last year that got out of hand, but certainly they've made it tough for Texas on third downs, and so clearly the key is stopping the run there with Robinson, but and the other Texas backs are really talented. But I think you're right. I think the big play passing is going to make a big difference, and usually when you play Oklahoma's the superior team on that front.
All right, so Auburn goes into Baton Rouge, and they ended over a decade, or maybe was it a couple of decades or so? Was that right, of not winning in Baton Rouge? And now they get Georgia. I saw the Georgia game with Arkansas, watching that as a lot of people did. Wow. I mean, you talk about just an absolute sledgehammer. That's who they are. Your thoughts about what Georgia's doing with their defense and being enough effective and getting more explosive offensively?
Georgia's defense is really off to an incredible start here, and it's not just beating up a bunch of nobodies. They haven't played an FCS game yet, I don't think, and they've played, Clemson and Arkansas certainly were highly ranked when they played them. So, been super impressed by that unit. It's all but one of their starters are juniors or seniors. 8 of their starters are former top 50 recruits. So they've got a ton of studs, they got a ton of depth, and some of their stuff, the stuff they're doing is just ridiculous. Like they're, in terms of like dropbacks and everything, they have more sacks than 10-yard passes given up this season. Like you cannot throw the ball on these guys. And I think the last 4 teams that have played them combined have thrown for 170 yards in the second half. Like they get up on you. They're obviously great at running the ball. They've managed this quarterback situation just fine because they're so talented in every other spot there basically. But they get up on you and they run the ball and they don't let you do anything on defense. And Kirby Smart's built his best team yet. And they should have, every expectation of competing for a national championship this year. So yeah, Auburn, certainly we know Bo Nix can do some crazy stuff. And that's going to be a tough matchup for him. But man, this Georgia team, it's easy to buy in on them as certainly a playoff team here, just in terms of all the pieces they've got.
When are we supposed to believe any kind of improvement is real for Michigan?
I mean, this week's a nice test. I mean, this week will give us a little bit more of a sense of where they're at. I mean, so I guess like you take last week and you say, man, that's a big game against Wisconsin, but this Wisconsin offense just cannot do anything at all. And so not too hard to beat as much as, excuse me, well, on the right here, guys. As much as like you expected Wisconsin to play a close game with them, I think this Michigan offense has really kind of figured things out. And, I think they run the ball really, really well, and they're going up against a good defense this week in Nebraska. But I think the sort of momentum kind of keeps building there that, I think last year was a little bit fluky. They're certainly not as bad as they showed in 2020. And, curious to see if they can stay on this path because certainly that division they're in is incredible right now. You've got Iowa, Penn State, as you guys mentioned. That's a key one in setting the tone for the Big Ten race. But Michigan's got a shot here to be competitive and start to feel like they can play with the best teams of the Big Ten again.
How badly did Nebraska need a win like that against Northwestern, Max?
It was bizarre to watch. Honestly, it was. They were playing with like the confidence that you would expect if they were like lining up against like Fordham or an FCS team. Like they were just crushing Northwestern. And Northwestern is not very good this year, to say the least. But that was, Smokey, if you've been in a coma for the last like 3 years here, and then you came up and you watched that game, and you're like, has it been this way the whole time?
Yeah, they actually had,
that's what it looked like UCF, man. It really did. It looked like that. Like it looked like it's supposed to this whole time. So we'll see if they can build on it. Obviously, a tough one this week and some hard ones ahead, but that's certainly a team that might not really be as bad as the record has shown so far.
Well, and Michigan will be a test, obviously, even though it's in Lincoln. You know what? It's how bad it's been for me, Max. I don't know, Paul, if you've been here or not. It's been so bad the last several years that they were winning and blowing somebody out, And I wasn't watching because I'm not used to it. I was like, wait a minute. I turned away from the Nebraska game. That's how bad it is. Here they are. They're actually destroying somebody, and yet I didn't even know how to watch it. That's how bad it is.
If Florida State blew somebody out, I'd take 3 days off and go celebrate. I'd go to Tallahassee and buy Mike Norvell a steak.
So, but, all right, so Michigan, Nebraska, that game's in Lincoln. Brigham Young and Boise State. Brigham Young's in the top 10. We know what Cincinnati did to Notre Dame. A couple of, I know Cincinnati right now considered a group of 5 and Brigham Young independent. Your thoughts about them and what they did?
Yeah, interesting. This is a really interesting BYU team again this year. I think they've got a chance when you look at their schedule to keep stacking wins here and be really competitive. And I think it's helped them a lot that they did play good teams at the start of the season here, and really sort of built a lot of confidence. And I mean, they beat that whenever Arizona State looks better and better because that looks like one of the best teams in Pac-12 right now. I think the quarterback situation is a little up in the air this week for BYU, so interested to see where that goes. And, Boise's played some close games. I mean, they gave Oklahoma State a real test. They had a real back-and-forth shootout with UCF in the opener, lost to Nevada. That's a pretty good Nevada team. It's hard to know what to make of this Boise team, but I think this game could be pretty close and competitive. And, especially for folks in the Big 12 who want to start getting acquainted with these new schools. Cincinnati and BYU have been a lot of fun to watch this year, and I would encourage people to check them out, especially those BYU games late at night when you just need a little bit more college football here, to wrap up your weekend.
Max Olson, national writer, theathletic.com with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Baylor and Oklahoma State last week was a slugfest. Baylor, West Virginia might be that way. West Virginia, I was stunned that they lost at home and dug a 17-0 hole. Your thoughts about Baylor, because they were so good in the first half against Iowa State, but since then the offense has struggled.
Yeah, that's right. And I haven't really lost a whole lot of faith in Baylor here, but certainly I think you look at these next 2 games, really next 3-4 games. I mean, look, they're all tough in the Big 12. That's kind of how this conference is right now. But I think that I can understand the frustration with just the offensive plan not really working out or coming together there against Oklahoma State. But I do think Baylor is going to be really competitive in this race and continue to have that chance to make a big leap here in year 2. Under Aranda. And I think of all the Big 12 teams right now, probably would say West Virginia might be the one that's hardest to figure out. And, I know that they're probably a year away as a program, but, we know they can play some pretty good defense. And I think they're just kind of missing the quarterback. I just don't know that they've got the guy there yet. And wonder if there's a transfer they can get this offseason or something like that that's kind of the missing piece. So I would expect this game to be, similar to, what West Virginia played last week with Texas Tech. I think it's going to be really close. And, that was a big one for Tech, obviously. But I think we're back into it now in this conference where there's just going to be a lot of these 50-50 kind of games.
Max, Arkansas and Ole Miss, good stories to start off the year. Still plenty of room to be good stories the rest of the year, but somebody's going to be taking their second straight loss here after both are licking their wounds a little bit from losses last week. Now at 13-17, Razorbacks at 13, Rebs at 17. What are your thoughts on this bounce-back game where only one team can really bounce back?
Yeah, that this one means a lot to Matt Corral because that's the game when he threw, 6, 7 years. I mean, he threw a ton of interceptions in that game last year. He's pretty much the reason they lost that game to Arkansas last year, and that was a huge one for Sam Pittman and his staff in that their debut season. So he's been thinking about that one all off season. And honestly, I think this is the kind of game that can probably sort of solidify that Corral is one of these guys that's going to stay in the Heisman race going forward, even if Ole Miss isn't a top 10 type of team. So, certainly a real challenge there against, that defense that Barry Odom put together that I think is really talented. So excited to see that kind of that coaching chess match between those staffs. Obviously, you've got Kendall going against Levy there, which will be interesting to see. And, I think these are 2 teams. It's really hard to figure out what to make of the SEC West right now because you just had LSU and A&M lose last week, right? And there's another one too. And Arkansas. So it's I think there's an opportunity here for somebody to rise up here, and Ole Miss obviously trying to lick their wounds after playing Bama. There's an opportunity here because A&M and LSU don't look great as talented as they are. So this is a pretty good opportunity here for Arkansas and Ole Miss to surprise some people, but you got to get past this one.
Does A&M kind of have a mulligan this year because of the Haynes King injury, or do you feel like even with that, because that was not like he was a certainty to be a star right away? So kind of how do you view A&M at this point? Because that obviously was a killer, but you got to get over it and keep playing. So disappointed type of season, or just one of those things?
Yeah, it's weird. Like it seems like a little bit unfair to Haynes King because we still don't, he's still a second-year guy. We don't really know how good he can be. He threw 3 picks in the season opener and then gets hurt in the second game. So I can understand people looking at this and saying, man, the quarterback situation is not good enough. Obviously, A&M is playing really good defense. And that unit's going to give them a chance to win a lot of games still, I think. But I think in Haynes King being out, it's just going to sort of like build up this legend that, oh, man, we would have been so good last year if we had Haynes King. And that's going to be a lot for the kid to live up to. But certainly in this A&M offense, they've got to figure some stuff out here. And certainly, Calzado's got to get more comfortable and give them a chance to win, So it's fascinating to watch that game last week against Leach and the way that they were able to go through for 400 on them. I think this is, I don't know what to expect from A&M this week. Are they going to get steamrolled like everybody else does by Bama? Or are they going to show up and play the kind of 4-quarter fight that I think we thought this game could be when you looked at it a couple of weeks ago?
Mm-hmm. Max, there's no fan base in the country that gets out over their skis and maybe a year ahead of where they really are. 2 years, 3, sometimes 3, than Texas A&M. There's not one. I promise you, they're so in love with their football team, and for many good reasons, but no one gets more excited before the season starts about potential than Aggie fans. Not a fan base.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah,
and look, and they're in a tough spot too. Like they're having to play freshmen on the offensive line. Like was everybody wrong to put them in the preseason top 10? Probably not. Obviously it's a reminder that preseason rankings are pretty pointless overall once you get into it. But you're right, Craig. The quarterback thing threw him off a lot. I think the O-line thing's been a problem too, and I don't know that the receiving core is quite as good as it needs to be. Like they're just offensively, they've got some issues here. Not as bad as some other teams, but I think in terms of like hitting their potential, it just hasn't broken the way they thought it would this year. And I think they've still got talented players, and I don't look at them and say like, oh man, they're going to have like a hard time getting to a bowl game this year. So I don't think it's disastrous, but yeah, it doesn't look like this is going to be the kind of season that sort of meets the very high expectations in College Station this year.
Thank you very much, Max. Every Thursday at around 4, Max Olson, theathletic.com national writer, has been with us for years and with us from day one on Sikkim 365 Radio when we began this latest chapter of the journey in April 6th of 2020. When we come back, we'll have Mickey Spagnola this hour. Craig's off the radar as well. Before we take the break, though, Paul, somebody has asked us to have you explain the Big 12 women's basketball preseason coaches poll is out. Baylor received 7 of 10 first-place votes. Iowa State received 1. Texas received 2. And they asked specifically you to explain who are the 2 teams that didn't vote for Baylor, because your coaches can't vote for your own team. So one of those 3 votes, not Baylor, is Nikki Collin.
Yeah. And so the other 2 would probably be Nikki Collin probably voted for Texas.
So there's 2 other coaches that didn't vote. I'm going to take you off the hook here. But this didn't surprise me at all. You have a massive coaching change with what Baylor's been. Nikki Collin's going to be a hell of a coach for Baylor, but I think that there was a time when it could be a little bit maybe with what Texas did at the end of last year, that there might be where it's not 9-1, 9 votes for Baylor and 1 for somebody else who Kim Mulkey would vote for.
Yeah, I'll say this. There's a couple teams that have all the good players, and there's other teams that have regular players in women's basketball, and that's how it works.
Well, isn't that the way in college football with Alabama, Georgia?
Kind of right now, but
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's how women's basketball is. The talent isn't as diverse, and hopefully one day it'll get there, but it's not there yet.
I have 6 tickets for an Oktoberfest concert at the city of Woodway for next Thursday, and if you want to go, I have a table for 6. Text me if you're in the Waco area. You can get here. This is a week from today, October the 14th at the Arboretum in Woodway. 6 tickets for the table for their Oktoberfest concerts. And it's, I think, starts like at 7 o'clock on Thursday. 254-339-1122. First person that texts, you get the table for 6, courtesy of the city of Woodway. Jack, are we also going to have tickets for the West Virginia game to give away? 2 tickets. We'll do that here momentarily. But coming up next, it is Mickey Spagnola and DallasCowboys.com.
BetUS.com, the 3-decade leader for over 25-plus years. They pride themselves on being known as America's favorite sports book, and they've got action on every sport across the world, so we can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game, and they offer the industry's bigger retail bonuses to keep their players betting longer, like these. Sick'em 125 and Sick'em 200. That's the promo code. So on a deposit of $100 or more, you get 125% bonus on Sick'em 125. Or if you use crypto, you get 200%. So remember those and use those when you sign up. And their BetUS loyalty program is legendary. They keep their players up to date with articles, team stats, and trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decisions. BetUS.com. Use promo code Sick'em 125 and Sick'em 200.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's initial quality study. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is first among all midsize trucks. Quality and Ram Power Days, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
Prescott over the middle, wide open. Jarwin walking in for the touchdown.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
Mike E. immediately on the text line has won that table for 6 for the Oktoberfest at City of Woodway at the Arboretum Oktoberfest concert event. Mike, I'm in touch with you. I've just sent you a couple of texts. If you'll respond, we appreciate that. Now joined by Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, listen, I know it's 4 games into the season, and there are 13 left. The Cowboys can be a tease as ultimate as any team in pro football. Overhyped as much as anybody. How do we know they're legitimate? Because it appears as if they might be.
Well, I think this offense for sure is legitimate. I think it's very sustainable the way they're playing. You see that they have the ability to run the football. They have the ability to throw the football. If they have to rely on one or the other, they can do it. And if they get both going, I think teams are going to have to score a whole bunch of points to beat them. I think from a defensive standpoint, I still think they got a ways to go. I understand the takeaways, having 10 of them already in 4 games. But can that continue? Because that's what sustained the defense. I still think they're giving up way too many pass yards, way too many big plays. And if not for those takeaways, then yeah, this defense would, be looking not as strong as you need it to be. So I think, David, for this to look like this can go on and on and on, I think the defense has to continue to improve. They're going to start getting some guys back with Keanu Neal, and then help on the way. Neville Gallimore should be back, and at some point DeMarcus Lawrence will get back so they can hold down the fort until they get a couple of those starters back. I think this offense can be, this team can be for real.
Well, Mickey, they're obviously confident enough in the defense to let go a guy who's been a starter for 4 years on the team in the middle of the season. And I know that Jalen Smith has regressed, but they certainly have to be confident enough that they can improve and be better with him gone. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let him go to pay him $7 million to go play for the Packers.
Well, it wasn't the $7 million to go pay for the Packers. It was not paying $9.2 million against an injury to play for them again next year. And look, his snaps were going down. He only played 28 snaps in this last game against Carolina out of 69. With Keanu Neal coming back off of COVID, he's your nickel linebacker with Micah Parsons. And if they're in some sort of standard defense, then it's Leighton Vander Esch and Micah Parsons. And so I just felt like not only were they getting diminishing returns from Leighton Vander Esch if you watch any amount of replays of the game, but also the fact that they wanted to restructure his contract to get rid of the guarantee against injury next year. And they just felt like there was no way they could risk paying $9.2 million for what they were getting out of Leighton Vander Esch. So again, it was more of a big picture thing than just this year.
How would you summarize Jalen Smith's career in Dallas, Mickey?
Well, it started off awfully remarkable that he was able to basically have a redshirt rookie year, coming back from the gruesome knee injury he had in the final game with Notre Dame, and then to return to not only play but start and then have progressed to having a very good season till he reached a Pro Bowl level. I think, but since that, I think his play declined for whatever reason, and the Cowboys have gotten younger guys, newer guys to come in and kind of pass them by. So I think I think you can't diminish the remarkable story that he was or is recovering from that gruesome injury to be able to still play in the National Football League.
Mickey Spagnola with us, obviously coming off the win. San Diego continues to do what they do.
L.A.
Yes, them too. They beat two teams at once against the Chargers. And now, you have this Giants team, and it appears as if they should be easy to just kind of handle. But nothing, we know that. In the NFL, as soon as you think it is, here comes something chaos. But when I watched the Giants this past weekend, and they have a lot of warts, did it look like to you that they got a few things straight?
Well, they certainly straightened things out offensively. For Daniel Jones to throw for 402 yards and pile up, I think it was 485 yards of offense. And I guess Jason Garrett isn't a dummy the way the New York media was portraying him, saying he didn't know enough about offense, that he was too conservative. And then they come up with two 50-yard plays for touchdowns this past week. So, look, if Daniel Jones can play at that level that he did in the game against the Saints, then this is a dangerous team. And you can't take that for granted. You got to throw out the 3-1 or 1-3 record, because they were very close to being 3-1. But again, if you got a quarterback playing at the level he did against the Saints, putting up a 108.5 QB rating, and completing 70% of his passes, then you're going to have your hands full. So they got to be able to control him first and foremost. And it looks like Saquon Barkley is getting better and better every game he plays. And, they got a receiving core that, boy, you got to respect. I mean, they did that last week against the Giants, and Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, two of their top wide receivers, didn't play. I just know, and there's no one around here taking the Giants for granted, and nobody else should either.
Mickey, when Neville Gallimore gets back, do you think that he and Oso Odigizua will play together, or do you think that will be more of a rotation because they play kind of the same spot?
Yeah, I was told that they felt like Osa had enough versatility to possibly play both defensive tackle spots. So there is a chance they can both be on the field at the same time. And I would imagine in nickel situations, you would want both of them on the field at the same time. And then if it doesn't work out that way, then you can rotate those guys and keep them fresh. And as you can see, the way Dan Quinn runs his defense, sometimes it looks like it's a hockey game with this line going over the boards and that line going over the boards, and he's rotating the defensive front dramatically. I think that there's a chance both of them can play. Maybe not down in and down out, but certainly rushing the quarterback from a nickel situation. And then, let's see what happens on normal downs. Although, what happens these days, that there's very few normal downs, it seems like. There's a lot of, nickel defense, dime defense, and, Dan Quinn's coming up with a big nickel with J-Ron Kearse moving up towards the line of scrimmage and playing like three safeties and three corners at times. And it'd be good to get those guys back. At some point, you're going to have some more injuries. And I think that was one of the other reasons why, when they decided how are they going to have, let's just take after the bye. If you get Neville Gallimore back, at some point you're going to get DeMarcus Lawrence back. At some point you're going to get Michael Gallup back. So now who are you cutting to make room on the 53? And if Jalen Smith isn't playing more than 20, 28 snaps a game, then he may be expendable down the road. But you don't want to take that chance with that injury guarantee looming overhead.
Mickey, I'm really bad with legal stuff and all the NFL rules and whatnot. What does Lyle Collins filing a temporary restraining order against the NFL mean, if anything, for the Cowboys?
Yeah, I got a headache on that too. By the way, the legalese is you don't understand it. Mm-hmm. But and look, I've heard people say when they saw them trying to file suit, and now the thing's going into a court here in Collin County that the judge agreed with Ezekiel Elliott lawsuit against the NFL, though it got overturned when it finally made its way to New York. But again, it's like, well, why is he doing that? He's only got 2 games left to be suspended, but it's 2 games more without pay. Yeah. So I'm guessing, that's the incentive here. Let's try to recoup at least, 2 games of paychecks. And who knows, if a court throws the whole thing out, I might get all 5 paychecks back. So it does have to do with money. And right now, I think the last thing I read through this very confusing story, he's already lost $188,000. I don't care how much you make, right? $188,000 out of your paycheck is a lot. And then there's 2 more games to go. So I think that's the incentive there. And, depending on what side you read, but, it sounds like there's an argument there, but, who knows what happens in court. I remember one time, and I know this isn't in a jury trial or anything like that, but I remember one time Tech Schramm telling me the last thing you ever want to do is to be in a trial and have a jury of your peers deciding. He goes, because those people on the jury, they ain't your peers.
No, $188,000, that's a house. You know what the NFL should do is just go pay off someone. Just pick one lucky fan. We're going to pay off your mortgage when a guy gets suspended. There you go. Done. Free house on us.
I think there's already a bribe charge there. I don't think you want to mess with that, right?
Yeah.
All right, Mickey, thank you, man. Appreciate your time. Mickey Spagnola, Thursdays at 4:30 with us. Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Yeah, I mean, that defense is getting turnovers, so that's helped cover up any warts that they have right now, but at some point, teams are not going to be throwing at Trayvon Diggs, on a regular basis. And I think I saw a quote from, I think it was like Amari Cooper, who was saying that he told Trayvon that, enjoy it while you can, because they're not, get them while you can, because they're not going to be throwing a bunch more your way here pretty soon. So, yeah, they've done an amazing job in the turnover department, and, if that keeps up, then it's all going to be great. But the week that doesn't, take place, then that will be the real test for this defense.
I think last week when he had 2 might have been the last hurrah of teams thinking, well, it's just in the right place.
Yeah.
He's just in the right. He's on a streak of, he's got, 9 now going back to last year. If you throw it around there, if he can get his hands on it, he's going to catch it. He's got great hands for a cornerback. He's one of those guys who probably didn't wind up at cornerback because he couldn't catch. There's a lot of guys who do. He's certainly not that guy. And so, yeah, you don't want to throw it over there. And the other thing is, no offense to him, he's a real hard worker and a solid player. But Anthony Brown's the guy on the other side. Yeah. Go pick on him. Just do it. You have a better shot over there.
But see, Everson Walls had 11 or 12 interceptions like his rookie year, whatever year it was. You say, why throw his way?
Sometimes you got to.
Sometimes if you don't, you can't play scared, although you didn't want to throw towards Dion, but some people still did, and sometimes people went after him. It's like, how does let me see, I keep forgetting his name, Deuce Vaughn. How does Deuce Vaughn get loose so often? Because he's a hell of a player. Even though you know that, right? You know that so-and-so is going to get the ball. Derrick Henry. It's easier said than done. And the same thing with throwing in the way of Diggs. He's been amazing. And the Cowboys, they were years upon decades, droughts of turnover teams that they just didn't have. When we come back, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Sikkim 365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, Pioneer Boys open Monday through Friday, normal hours. But let's say you can't get over there and you have some work to do and you have something you're trying to build and you want to go look at it yourself, the product they have, pipe and steel, metal building supplies. They also help you find the right contractors if you need help doing that so that doesn't end up in a nightmare. And they have been in business since 1943. They are open on Saturdays from 8 until noon in case that's where you need to go, when you need to go, because that's the only time you can get there. They will also deliver and unload the heavy equipment. From entryways to big gates where you have large homes, maybe out in the country, or, again, metal buildings. They have that product, and they have been delivering elite product. Great customer service since 1943. I love saying that because that's just crazy insane. Since 1943, the best in the business. Locations in Waco and Bryan. PioneerBoys.com.
The bad news. Computer chip shortages have negatively affected all vehicle inventory worldwide. The good news is General Motors just announced they are restarting production and will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Cars and trucks are coming. Now is the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. Get your name on our first in line priority list and you can get your car or truck first as they arrive. If you need a pickup, get the best. Get a Sierra from Richard Carr. The ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury makes Sierra the best truck on the road. If you want a roomy SUV, consider Buick. The Buick lineup of SUVs offer the size and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Or maybe you want the ultimate combination of sophistication and power of a new Cadillac XT6 or Escalade. With dozens of lenders, we say yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. Go online or come by for a test drive today. Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. Give Richard Carr Motors a chance to earn your business, and they are owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Since its inception, Pickup Outfitters has remained politically neutral. We love trucks of every persuasion, not just red and blue ones. But people keep asking us where we stand, and for this one time, we're going to break our neutrality. We oppose any government intervention or legislation to end truck nudity. We believe in the American right to drive nude vehicles. We think it's disgusting, we fight it every place we can, and we want to end it, but we want to end it the right way, peaceably. Therefore, we call on Congress and President Biden to respect the rights of truck owners. Our founding fathers didn't own a truck, but if they did, I bet they would have put a bed cover and running boards on their truck. The right to keep and bear your truck the way you want is fundamental to the fabric of this nation, and we believe in that right. So we urge you to come and take it at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Off the radar, taking a look at some stories that are off our normal discussions, but covering a lot of different sports, and we'll stick with college football right off the top. A major injury was announced today. Oregon head coach Mario Cristobal. The Ducks have been ravaged with injuries so far this year, and it's just gotten worse as they've announced that running back C.J. Verdell will miss the rest of the season with a lower leg injury. The injury occurred in the third quarter of their overtime loss to Stanford a week ago, and at the time it seemed like it was probably not good, but C.J. Verdell is officially out for the rest of the year. He's in his fifth year at Oregon, but just a junior because, again, as we acknowledged earlier, there's no telling like how many years guys have left, so he does have time left, but he's a damn good player and was having a nice start, and so that's brutal news as the Ducks get ready to host Cal on October the 15th. They get to lick their wounds a little bit, but that was a loss. That loss to Stanford kind of derailed them and obviously derailed the Pac-12 a bit, and this Verdell loss will derail the Ducks, maybe not in the loss column necessarily, but it's going to have an impact and could lead to some of that.
Yeah, that's it's amazing. You have the huge win. It looks like you're going to vault yourself right into the conversation when you beat Ohio State, and things just haven't gone well since that time.
That's a gut punch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, a pretty bad injury to say the least. So, too, is the one to LSU star cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. He is now out indefinitely. He's been talked about as like a top 5 to top 10 draft pick going back to last year and maybe even a little bit before that, quite frankly. But he's been long pegged as a guy who will be playing on Sundays. And Ed Orgeron announced that he has been ruled out as they get ready to play as he remains ruled out. So Derek Stingley, what a player. And he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. So, that's a big blow for LSU.
I would say that we've probably seen the last time he's worn an LSU uniform.
Yeah, and I should say he had a foot injury, surgery on the foot. I didn't mention that.
I mean, just because of his prospects of the NFL are so incredibly high, it would really shock me in today's college football to see him come back and play for a team that it's going to be in the medium level bowl.
Whose coach is on very much a hot seat right now. Like, I mean, if you're Derek Stingley, and you do wonder too with these guys and the injuries. I mean, look, it's more of a business now, right? I mean, these guys got to make NFL decisions when they're hurt. It's not necessarily like how quickly can I get back to help my team. And if LSU's not in contention and we know he's going to be drafted come the springtime, then I would not be surprised if you're right, Paul, and he has played his last down with LSU. So those are two big-name college football players in the last 24, 48 hours who have been announced as missing the remainder of the year. So that is definitely of note. Urban Meyer, just saw a clip from a few minutes ago. The Jaguars were out on the practice field, and they were breaking the huddle, and Trevor Lawrence, I think, said like the typical Urban line or something. I didn't quite get the joke all the way, but he broke the huddle with grind, which I guess is maybe what Urban does, and everybody started laughing afterwards. So the reporter who had filmed the clip said, all right, Trevor Lawrence having a little bit of fun. Either things are going to go really well for the Jaguars this weekend or things are going to continue getting really bad. As that team just tries to hold on. There's been all sorts of rumors about, whether or not Urban's going to still be there for very much longer. And, Jaguars fans are already dealing with names being brought up as potential fill-ins. And Jeff Fisher's name got brought up, and that caused a lot of commotion amongst the Jaguars fan base from what little I could see. What would you think about a Jeff Fisher sliding in there? Because there's a lot of people that are looking at his record, and they're going, no freaking way.
Well, in the middle of the year, absolutely not. Yeah. And Jeff Fisher's is one of those guys who, to me, feels like his time in the NFL's past.
It's the retread.
Yeah.
He has had, at times, some success. There's a reason why he was able to hang around. Pretty good defensive coach, right, for some years. It's a retread. The NBA's filled with him. Baseball sometimes filled with him. The NFL, there are some retreads. He, to me, would be an absolute retread.
The great thing that the Cons did in hiring Urban Meyer was that they were thinking outside, like, let's see what we can get out of this guy who is one of the best college coaches going right now, and let's see what happens. Now, what I think that I don't think you can probably estimate until you're actually in the realm of Urban Meyer is the amount of nonsense that comes with him.
Yes. And speaking of Urban Meyer, staying on Urban Meyer, by no means everybody's had their jokes and their cracks and, this and that, but there are real people involved, and that includes his wife. And she actually posted a message on social media, and I'll kind of just leave it alone after this unless there's some reason to really bring up Urban Meyer, because I do have respect for people's personal lives. But she did go on to Twitter apparently and speak for the first time. She said, "Thank you, friends, followers, fans, supporters, for all your love, fun, laughs over the years. God bless, and God bless America. Peace out." And then she had like a bunch of emojis, and she said, "This will be my last post on Twitter. Frankly, I don't need the hate, vitriol, slander, trash that will at me. This has never stopped anyway. We all make mistakes. We are all sinners. If you think you are, then cast the first stone." And then she thanked her followers and friends and then mentioned that she'll be deleting the message right after she posts it because she does not want to see the responses. So that was Urban's wife commenting and deleting her social media. And, now it's kind of back to football, and we'll see what happens with the Jaguars this weekend. But it is very early in the season for all this to be going on. That's the one thing. If this was like November, you could all right, let's eke it out. But, man, they got a long way to go.
You know what? That's good for her. And secondly, that's who he has to answer to, along with the football owner, the owner of the con. But you imagine where we are today in social media, that even though she had nothing to do with any of this, she's going to be the one getting some hate.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you dump him? Why don't you, and it's just good for her. When Facebook went under this week for whatever time it was,
6 glorious hours.
I wonder how many probably enjoyed that and just deleted it. Craig, you've deleted yours years ago, correct?
I deleted mine when I first moved to Waco, so that is going on like 8 years now that I have not had it. I deleted it for not just I'm taking it offline. I deleted it 8 years ago. I have not looked back. I have not rejoined, and I have not missed it one iota, not one single bit. I'd say the only downside to it is that it is, the perfect little platform for just seeing what people are doing and keeping track of who's married and who's got kids and, things congratulating people on milestones and all that. But I got a small circle. I already know all those dates and don't need Facebook to remind me. I haven't missed it. But, social media is what it is.
I deleted it off my home screen because I do have people who contact me on it quite a bit. But that way I'll just get an email and then I'll go to it then. But I haven't since it went down, I haven't been to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't miss it.
But you once relied on that heavily.
I did. I relied on it heavily.
I liked it for a long time,
too. The only time that I use it now is to post things that are professional. And that's pretty much what my social media is. It's not. Yeah. It's if you contact me, I will respond to you. I have the respect to do that. But if not, then I'm just gonna put professional stuff up there. I think that's the best.
I still have a page, and on occasion I'll get this alert that there's some people who want to have me. I don't do that. Very rarely.
I'm just weird. I don't worry.
Good for her, by the way.
Yeah. No, I kind of cut bait with everything and then just move along.
No, I'll fight you for TweetDeck and Twitter. Don't even think about it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's where I get my anger out with some people.
Twitter is good sometimes, but like everything else, sometimes it's not. All right, Jared Butler, former Baylor basketball star. He was looking pretty good on Wednesday night. Team high 22 points, 4 assists, 1 rebound as the Jazz lost to the Mavericks 111-101 with the NBA season starting to rev up a little bit. Had a shooting night of 9 of 18 from the field. He was 3 of 7 from 3. He's been very, very good in the games that he was appearing in during the preseason, and there's starting to be a little bit of a buzz building for Jared in Utah and what he may do, and the fact that he may be an under-the-radar type of a guy. A lot of people know about him because of his time at Baylor and the national title and the win over Gonzaga and all that, but he did fall in the draft because of some health concerns, but I mean, the Jazz have a lot of history with Baylor basketball. It seems like Jared's starting to cook a little bit. I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Yeah, I feel like we know half the roster with Maceo, Jared, and Royce O'Neal there. And but Utah was there for a little while last year too. So, and then Dennis Lindsey is the GM. Jake Lindsey is one of their scouts. So.
There was a game, I guess it was the game a couple of days ago with Teague and Butler had like 34 points combined. Now, I know it's a lot of guys are getting to play. And eventually you'd kind of tighten that up, but it was cool to see O'Neal, Teague, Butler.
I bet you Maceo's at the end of the bench. I don't think he's going to be in the rotation like Jared will be, but I bet you he makes it.
But you know what? I also saw their stat sheet. And, there's going to be times when both of them had 2 steals. Both of them had 2 assists. They do more than score, but they can mix it up a little bit too. So that was good to see that as well.
Yep, so good to see Jared Butler thriving. I don't think that it surprises anybody who watched him at Baylor. But he is doing well and off to a good start. Bizarre story out of the NBA involving some former players. 18 former players have been indicted in an alleged $4 million scheme to defraud the NBA health plan. NBC New York reported today that 18 NBA vets were named in an indictment, all facing a count of conspiracy to commit healthcare and wire fraud. And they have a list of the names, some of the names that you might recognize: Glenn Big Baby Davis, let's see, Shannon Brown, Sebastian Telfair, Antoine Wright, Eddie Robinson, so on and so forth. No, huge name star. There's not a LeBron that's involved in this, but why would he need to? He's making good money. He doesn't have to defraud the healthcare system. But according to one of the articles, there was a 3-year scheme that involved former players submitting fake reimbursement claims for exams and procedures that were never done. The indictment alleges they took in around $2.5 million from a total of around $4 million in fake claims. The ringleader was former 11th overall pick back in 2009, Terrence Williams. He's accused of having impersonated an insurance plan employee as a part of the scheme, and he is the orchestrator. They had false health plan claims, fake invoices, la-di-da-di-da. So it was all for medical and dental services. And, they got busted, and so now we'll see what happens. But, I think these guys were a little bit out over their skis and did not obviously take care of their money while in the NBA.
Yeah, Darius Miles, another guy who was
and Telfair was one of my, you mentioned.
Yeah.
So they were claiming insurance.
Yeah, I've heard people doing that.
And they weren't hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. Fake
claims.
So do the doctors know this?
Well, maybe not.
That's not really the way they work.
This is just a short time after Clinton Portis, Tamrick Vanover, and Robert McCune all pleaded guilty in the same thing to do it for the NFLPA. They were doing the same thing with that. This one obviously larger, way more than 3 people. But there's a lot of scams you see where people think because insurance companies are so backed up, or the government, you get people with the government, that they just make all these claims, and then the thing is they're backed up, but they audit everything eventually.
Yeah,
and that's when you're going to get caught.
Yeah, so I'm sure they had somebody on the inside that was helping them out, or at least signing things or whatever. But they're basically saying, hey, I had an MRI. It cost this much money. They get the money in return for that from their insurance or whatever, but they never had the MRI. So that's what they were doing, and that they were just stacking up money. And that amount of money for that many people involved,
well, and
is that worth it?
You're talking about a sport with a minimum salary.
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying. Is clearly these guys did not manage their money very well, because none of them were making millions off of this scheme. They were splitting tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe, because there's way too many people for $4 million, which I don't even think they got that to add up to that much, really.
But if you're making a lot of money and someone leaves a briefcase and says this is illegal, but there's $58,000 in here. That's kind of like what happens, right?
Well, sometimes you can't.
And okay. Well, that'll be interesting to see if they serve any time.
Now it's all about jail time for those guys. And I'll close out with a sport that does not get talked about a lot on this show because we're so football consumed. But how about that Dodgers walk-off last night? Huge win over the Cardinals. And the Dodgers continue to move on. Final 3-1. And, big 2-run walk-off home run from Chris Taylor for the Dodgers. So what a game.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Last night, though, was the first time this year that I've watched a Cardinals game. And I watch a lot of baseball, but I'd never really turned on the Cardinals. And my thoughts had nothing to do with baseball. It was, that's what that dude looks like. The center fielder, what's his name, Jack? Yeah, Bader looks like he's the 4th lead in Point Break, and Mike Schilt, the Cardinals manager, looks like a high school chemistry teacher that coaches the JV team.
Let me tell you, Bader gets the pick of whoever he wants. You could just see that. He should be on The Bachelor or something. That's a good-looking dude, right?
Honestly,
it is.
When I saw Harrison Bader, all I thought was he was one of the dudes that Patrick Swayze got shot in the bank robbery in Point Break.
He could play Hercules. He could, he's. Hey, by the way, Tony Altomore brought this up on Craig, the NBA thing. read the details. Even it was egregious. They didn't even change the receipt details of the dates of some of these things that they turned in for money.
They all pretended to have the same root canals at the same time from the same dentist.
Yeah, well, is it shocking to you that these guys aren't the smartest bulbs in the room? No, I don't think so, because I think they probably didn't handle their money that they did make in the NBA very well, because why else would you do a scheme like this to make really pennies compared to what your average NBA salary is, and to have to go through the process of doing all that? But yeah, I mean, that's can't cover every detail, but the fact that they were using the same receipts for the same fake thing, I mean, that's stupidity at the highest level.
I'm in no way endorsing crime here.
No.
But if you're going to be a criminal,
when you say "but," you are.
Okay. But if you're gonna do it, at least try.
Yeah.
You know, there's some radio
dimwits.
Stations have at times over the years dumb criminal stories, or stupid criminals. You know,
no, dim-witted behavior by those guys, and I don't know how it's going to end up going for them. So, anyways, last night the Dodgers with a huge win. They'll now face the Giants in the next round of the playoffs. But ongoing right now, Astros up 5-0 over the White Sox in Game 1 of that ALDS series. They're in the bottom of the 5th right now. So Astros halfway to a 1-0 start. And later on tonight, it'll be the Red Sox, Paul's Red Sox, and the Rays starting just after 7 o'clock.
Oh, they weren't going to be here. They weren't going to. Hey, let me tell you something. The Dodgers won 105 games. And they end up having a one-game playoff, which could have gone either way, a bad hop or whatever. They win that game. Now they turn around and play a team that won 106 games, and so have they. It's just the way the tournament bracket sets up. It's like somebody asked earlier on the chat room or text line. If, in fact, the SEC gets two teams in the Final Four, the college football playoff, and they most likely will, should they play each other in the semifinals? Will they seed them 1 through 4 where they play each other in the final, or will they say, no, you're 1, you're 3, you're going to have to play each other in the semis?
Oh, I would think that they're going to split them up.
Why? Because the Giants and Dodgers have 106 wins.
They would have just played.
They just played. They have to play each other in the conference title game.
But sometimes that happens in the conference title game. You just play a game in the regular season.
But didn't the rematch of LSU-Bama lead directly to a college football playoff, basically? Yeah. So, I think you got to do it.
But that's not why you seed them that way, is it?
No, but I'm just saying that that thought has to creep in, because obviously you're talking about it. So I'm sure it creeps into their heads as well of what's better for us, what's better for ratings, what's better for the sport. And quite frankly, I think Georgia-Bama, if they're both at that point, and they're playing the way they are right now, and they're still at that point later on, and depending on how
that's the absolute exception. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about if you have two teams from the same conference that get into college football playoff, those two are just outrageous.
Well,
would you separate them in the 4?
But that's this is the best example because they're both so good. So I think you gotta.
But what if one sneaks in? Like one of them's not like they are those two right now. Would you still separate them? But one of them's
but they can't sneak in because one has to lose, right before the announcents are made, because they're going to have to play each other.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So you wouldn't sneak in. You're playing each other. No, and if they're not playing each other, then they're not two getting in.
In another year, if they don't, it was a question on. I don't know.
I know what you mean, though.
I just think with a conference title game, there's no scenario where somebody would sneak in.
Well, we know we can't trust them, because the College Football Playoff Committee has been fraudulent in many ways of what they've said over the years in how they have put teams together. They look good in a blue suit.
Yeah.
I mean, they look good coming off the bus. They managed or controlled the game one week, and the next week they won the turnover battle.
But if you're the TV executives, you wouldn't want that to be a semifinal game.
No, you wouldn't. And I probably, as a fan, wouldn't either.
What I was trying to say is that if those two teams are where they are at the end of the year, and yes, they're going to have to play each other to have this whole scenario even happen. Now, if Bama were to blow out Georgia or vice versa, which I don't see either scenario happening, then the chances are nil that they probably both get in, depending on what happens around the rest of the country. But if you have a chance, depending on how that game goes, I don't think you want to turn right around and run it back. I think that if anything, if it's a good game, you'd want that to be like the national championship game. And
the other thing, just on a pure, I don't know. Look, the reason that Alabama LSU was bad was because LSU beat Alabama during the year and then got no reward for doing that. They just had to turn around and play them again. In the playoff, if Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC championship game, they should at least get a chance not to have to play them right away again, but let somebody else get them.
And it's amazing, though, the way we're sitting there and saying that they both should. Right now, yes, they're both well ahead of everybody. Penn State, Iowa, they like to disagree. Maybe somebody else.
Well, right now they wouldn't play because they'd be 1-2.
Yeah, they'd be 1-2. They wouldn't play but they're going to play in the SEC championship game unless something crazy happens. All right.
I know what you mean, though. Like, you don't want to – I mean, you want it to be legitimate, but I think there is room where there's not going to be that much separation between the four teams where if you can all but help it, I mean, that Georgia-Bama game, like, depending on how the conference title game goes, if they both get there, I mean, and let's say it's a close game, I mean, the build-up for a potential national championship rematch versus, hey, let's turn it around and play the semifinal we just watched. That little bit of a break and then that little bit of a build-up, I think, would make for a huge viewing audience.
And I just think that added to the fact is the winner shouldn't have to play the loser right away again.
Yeah, that's the simplest way to say it, too. Yes, that's a good point.
All right, here we go. 5 o'clock hour. We're already a little bit into it, but we do have Jennifer Smoak, and it's going to be a bad segment. She's in a very bad way. She's lost 3 in a row. Injuries continue to mount. Paul has not helped her at all. Neither has Daniel in setting up her team at 5:30.
I will debate this.
No, I'm telling you, that's how I've been told. At 5:30, and all the other girls in the league have ganged up on her and won't trade. So we'll have Jennifer's segment at 5:30 today. When we come back to you, your chat room, YouTube channel 365 Sports, also 254-339-1122. Should baseball? And I don't mind the Dodgers and Giants playing each other. And I know it's college football. Let's use this as any sport. You have 106 wins. And 106 wins because the Dodgers yesterday, that was like a regular season game. And then they're going to play in the first round. It's the way the tournament's set up. It's like if a number 1 seed goes down, a 16 seed, you're going to get a break if you end up playing, right? So you have any problem with Giants, Dodgers, or what we talked about with the SEC? 254-339-1122, Sikkim 365 Radio.
There's some bad news from Richard Carr. That is that computer chip shortages have negatively affected all vehicle inventory, and not just at Richard Carr, but worldwide at dealerships. But the good news is that General Motors has announced they're restarting production and will release a steady flow of vehicles throughout the fall. So cars and trucks are coming, and now is the time to contact Richard Carr to get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. Get your name on the first-in-line priority list, and you can get your car or truck first as they arrive. If you need a pickup, well, check out the Sierra from Richard Carr. The ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury makes the Sierra the best truck on the road. If you're looking for a roomy SUV, we'll consider the Buick in the lineup of SUVs that offers the size and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Or maybe, rather than a pickup or an SUV, you're looking for a combination of sophistication and power, well, check out the Cadillac XT6 or a bigger lineup of SUV with the Escalade. Cars and trucks are coming. They've got a lot of different options that will be available, so call or contact Richard Carr online with what you want, and they will get you on that first-in-line priority list today and get your vehicle before anyone else. And if you're looking to save and drive today, Richard Carr is also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. 100% credit approval is always the goal, so go online or come by the dealership for a test drive today. And for those in the Central Texas area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Richard Carr Motors, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sanders back, delivers, intercepted again. Number 22, J.T. Woods, a.k.a. the Heartbreak Kid, breaking hearts of quarterbacks around the country.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
514, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So Mac Rhodes was on with us Tuesday and was discussing when we asked about Chapter 2 in the Big 12, about the possibility of whether there's additions of Boise State, Memphis, which is going to happen, and now the possibility of even more than that, because right now there's 10 teams. There could be 11 with Brigham Young, and who knows, maybe 15 or 13 or 12 or whatever. Then it's going to happen. But he did mention that he didn't want to add teams just to add teams, and I got some fans of the show who are fans of Memphis that were very concerned about what they heard with Mac or of Boise State as well. He didn't say there wouldn't be a Chapter 2. He just said that he wants to make sure they check off all the boxes of Chapter 2 and not just add teams to add teams. They're not doing that. They're not going to add somebody just to get to a certain number. They're still continuing to do their due diligence. And one of the next things that has to pop is the Pac-12 television contract. If, in fact, it doesn't blow the conference off out of the water, then you might have teams in the conference start to wonder. And who knows what happens with that. But that's the next thing in the timeline of getting to maybe Chapter 2 in the Big 12. I hope I summarized that pretty well.
No, yeah, it's all just waiting on what the Pac-12's TV contract looks like, basically, right?
Yeah.
And that's just all they're doing is waiting to see, and then they'll go from there.
They can react to what they do next, and also then their own TV contract will probably fall into place as well.
Yeah, so they're just, waiting at this point, and then we'll go from there as far as what that contract looks like and what that means for the teams they likely would add. But, yeah, I think the thing that it didn't sound an alarm to me in any way, because I think we have heard enough behind the scenes to know that there is, more expansion likely, potentially, for the Big 12. Just not immediately right now, but in the next few years, sure. I think we're all pretty confident in that it's not done just yet. But when he talked about like the number of teams and the scheduling problems that can create, that made me go, maybe 14 or 16 is not a number that he's very fond of. And like I've said, you can't go past that. Like, that would be ridiculous to go anywhere past that. But if what you said like last week, so SMU and the three others all join, you'd be a 16-team conference, so you'd be at your max, and yeah, there would be some scheduling issues, especially with non-football sports. But if you like the candidates and they bring something to the table, then I imagine that's the direction that they will go. But you got to see that contract the Pac-12 gets first, because like you said, if it's not a good one, I mean, does that potentially open the door for somebody to say, you know what, I don't know that we really love it here as much as you think we do.
And for those of you who think that at times we're trying to sit there and decide that Pac-12 teams are more interested, this is not what we're saying. We're talking about what makes sense. That if, in fact, for whatever reason, and it appears as if the Pac-12 is going to be taken care of, they'll be fine. But if, in fact, something changes, then, yeah, that two things happen. One, the Big 12 reacts to where, okay, wait a minute, if they're not going to get a lot, what about us? And then also, number two, that could create others who are not right now interested who could be. That doesn't mean they will be, but could be. So that's why the Pac-12 TV contract is so big.
And that should get done here in the next,
I don't know. I mean, here's what I do know. And when we had Tony Altimore on Friday, what he validated, and the Big 12 had all that information in their own ways. What he validated was the Big 12 and what they're doing, which at times you weren't positive about, makes sense across the board. Now, there's a couple you could pick and choose some arguments, but they had that. And how fast Bob Bowlesby, how fast, I think there might have been only one or two others involved, even though you have Mack Rhodes and Kirby Hocutt and Gene Taylor and all those others involved in whatever expansion committees. This really came down to a room with probably a dinner table of about three people that really were driving this bus. And I'm not so sure that didn't come together pretty quickly. And I'm not so sure, I know Oliver Luck and Bob Bowlesby knew each other, but I'm not so sure that someone involved was not like some, I don't want to use the word ghost, but someone who came out of like on a white stallion to save the day, and they listened to him or her. And then look where they are now just 2 months later. In fact, now over 2 months later. So that's kind of just an update on Chapter 2 and also what Max said to us on Tuesday. All right? So it's 5-19. Astros update. It's 5-0, you said, Craig?
It was 6-0 when we were going to commercial break, so they've actually added a run and very well on their way to a win today.
All right. Here's a couple of notes on the chat room. This is from Day Old Donuts.
I do have one question, though. The Pac-12 deal's not up, though, for at least another
I think it's 2023.
Okay, so 2 more years.
Sooner than you think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and you sure don't want to wait till 2023.
I guess I'm just used to reading 2024 and thinking that, that's like 10 years away.
Yeah, they're a year ahead of everybody else.
The Big 12 is 24-25. The Pac-12 is a year ahead of that. And so
I was just going to say,
kind of like, it all aligns that way.
So it's going to be 5 years from now. I'm like, well, we're making people wait a really long time, but no, it's only 2.
I would think in the next 12 to 14 months they'll get it finalized and ironed out.
In late July, when Texas and Oklahoma story popped with Brett Zerneman, did you think the Big 12 would be in the position they're in today back in late July?
No.
Hell no.
Also, it's also proven that it doesn't take that, so the Pac-12 TV deal gets done or that they get to the table and they're right to the end and there's either disappointing or exciting or whatever palatable for everybody. It doesn't take that long for people to make decisions. We've seen that. It doesn't take long.
No. And it's all kind of falls into place. It's not dominoes, but close to saying that when you knock one of them over and it just all the way around wherever you do that. Do you ever do that? Did you ever put up a bunch of dominoes and have them fall? Did you ever try to? Have you ever one that was long enough that mattered?
Yeah, when I was like 6 or 7 with those, but now I just play dominoes with dominoes at this point.
From Day Old Donuts, the design of the wild card is to weaken the wild card team in the playoffs where you use every pitcher available to get that win. The Dodgers started out with Scherzer. They had to go to 3 or 4 people? No, 2 or 3 people. They didn't blow up their staff because that game didn't go 14 innings, but it could have. Or they wasn't a 10-8 slugfest. So, but you're right, Dale. That's a very, very good point that you make about the wild card game.
But you're in the wild card, so you deserve to have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point of winning your division and not having to play in the wild card is you don't have to burn Max Scherzer at all in a one-off game. I mean, that's why there's drama to that game is because, you know, both teams have to do everything possible to win to just keep their season going. So, yeah, it sucks, but, I mean, that's the drama of it, and that's why you don't put yourself in that position of being in the wild card.
From Chris on the basketball story about those guys that are in trouble. Basketball isn't known for being the home for intellectuals. The WNBA has been around for about 25 years, and I don't think they have ever made a profit. No, the WNBA is funded by the NBA.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I don't know. I just think there's dumb criminals in every walk of life, and it just dumb scheme. It's actually funny because I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but we know somebody who was caught in a similar scheme like that years ago. And, it happens. It happens in walks of life. People try to cheat the system to get money. I think it's particularly sad, though. It's NBA guys who were in the league and should have been stacking millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars at the bare minimum. And instead, here they are facing jail time for a stupid scheme that was bound to get busted when you're writing the same prescription cards over and over again or whatever, visitor cards or appointment cards, all that. Yeah, it's stupidity, which you can see in every walk of life.
Before computers, that probably works for a little bit longer because nobody's going to sit there and do that. But when somebody inputs that into the machine,
eventually
it's going to come up and give you an error message.
Yeah, but to the WNBA point, I mean, that's something that I don't know how they're ever going to dig themselves out of just being fully funded by the NBA, basically. We hear all these arguments, Megan Rapinoe and Rapinoe and the U.S. soccer team have their arguments over equal pay and all of that. And I know the WNBA has barked a little bit. And, obviously there was the March Madness story with the women's teams there. So, I mean, there have been at least some complaints that have led to people going, okay, it's a little bit unequal. But yeah, I mean, for every salary argument there is in the WNBA or why aren't people watching, I mean, you've had 20 years. You've had 20 years to establish something better than just being funded.
And some star players with
lots
Taurasi and Sue Bird and Brittany Griner. There's a lot of players in the WNBA that we covered when they were at Baylor or elsewhere. They just had their first round or second round of the playoffs. Can you tell me that? You know where they are?
I flipped through and I saw Brittany Griner randomly on my TV. It was I couldn't tell you what channel, what time it was. I just there's a WNBA playoff game. I watched it for 30 seconds and I was done because there was no crowd there really, and it just wasn't for me. But
I do think, I'm sure, I don't want to get barbecued for saying this, but the biggest way to solve the problems with women's sports is if women would go. Empty seats are not a particular gender. They can be anybody. It's
true.
That's not in that empty seat. So,
that's the sports fault.
Yeah.
That's the sports fault for not drawing more of an interest than maybe a specific type crowd. By the way, Brittany Griner and them got run out of the playoffs yesterday by the Las Vegas Aces, lost by 17. They have to go to a game 5. Dejanay Carrington in Connecticut was beaten by Chicago 3-1, and Candace Parker's still playing. She's a star name. The problem with the WNBA is it's the same crowd, and it's not a very large crowd. And they have not brought in you or Armstrong or whoever else to be interested. And there are players in the league, Dee Richards, one of the Rookie of the Year candidates, and also all-rookie team, and others. It just hasn't. It's not. But ESPN is doing everything they can. They have games to promote it, to cover it, and they're doing everything. But eventually it comes down to the players who play the game to make it interesting enough for people to want to watch the games. That's it, period. No different than college football. Some teams have bigger eyeballs, more eyeballs. than others. It's the same thing. All right, when we come back, we're going to have Jennifer Smoak, Fantasy Football. Let's see, what game have we not highlighted? Brigham Young and Boise State's kind of like right here. Brigham Young because they're top 10.
All right.
What game have we not highlighted enough this week in college football that I could add to the schedule tomorrow?
I don't know. I have something different that I was going to bring up.
Okay.
I was going to add on that, for example, I just found the viewers. A double overtime WNBA semifinal opener on ESPN2 had 399,000 viewers. That's not very good at all. But it was the largest WNBA playoff audience prior to the finals since 2018, most watched game one since 2016. So there's
good news.
Something there. But as far as games we haven't touched on,
it should be there because they're promoting it like never before.
Yeah, it's still not really great ratings, though. But
what game in college football this week? We've mentioned Texas OU. We've heard from somebody who covers OU and somebody who also covers Texas. We've heard Iowa State, Penn State. Pittsburgh tomorrow just to talk to their quarterback. And obviously, I think there's another Penn State rider tomorrow. Baylor, West Virginia.
I think Texas Tech TCU is an interesting game. I think that's a must-win for Gary Patterson and the Frogs. I think it's a situation with Texas Tech where they're just being scrappy and trying to fight right now because they're down so many injuries. And shoot, man, if they win, they're 5-1. Like, they're 5-1. And they would have the embarrassing loss to Texas. But, I mean, Texas might be really good, that for all we know. I mean, they appear to be pretty good. So that's not that bad of a loss in total. But for TCU, again, they've got to win this game. Texas Tech, the last thing they want to do is start losing again and get that Matt Wells hot seat chatter firing back up and have to go through the rest of the season that way. So I know it's not a game that's probably of interest to many people out there, but for the Big 12 race and for the storylines involved, I am curious to see what happens in Lubbock on Saturday night.
Here are some responses to the WNBA question or the topic. I find zero entertainment value in either one. I only watch women's sports with Heather Swanson. Oh, yeah. Chris from Blake. NCAA softball's awesome. You're missing out. Bob Williams, I enjoy college softball. I love watching girls soccer. Jack McKenzie. Also, let's see, who else? From Caden. I love those lingerie football games.
Do they still do that?
Joey, I enjoyed bikini football on YouTube. What's going on?
What do you think's going on? You're just reading
the chat randomly.
That's what's going on.
I love darts.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we'll get if you just randomly read everything that's being typed right now. But
some of you are terrible.
I don't even know how we got on the WNBA thing to begin with. How did we even get on that?
I don't know.
Jumping into the comment section there.
All right, from movie droppings, the one game we have not highlighted, Michigan and Nebraska. I believe that tomorrow there's a good chance we have a writer who covers Michigan. But they have some other games down the road that will probably get more coverage as well. Auburn and Georgia. We had Georgia. We had Chip Towers on earlier today, this week, on Monday.
If you can find us an Auburn writer that'll pick up the phone, please.
I'm a member, as is Paul, of the pro football, but also the college football, whatever it is, Football Writers of America.
Yeah.
I have a book. It's this thick, and it's amazing. It's got everybody's number known to man that covers a team. I've used every number of somebody who covers Auburn, from AL.com to the Opelika News. I text, I call, nada. As no other program does that to anything I ever ask for. Nothing. I can get an athletic director from Brigham Young to call me back, but nobody who covers Auburn, but I'm not giving up on them. All right, when we come back, Jennifer Smoak, Fantasy Football League commissioner and expert, who's in a free fall. Sikkim 365 Radio. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Right now, they have the Vita Dreams, the Vita Dreamy, THC free. So if you worry about drug tests, you're okay. Delta THC products, they have those available, but ask them about it to make sure you're getting what you need to get. And then on top of that, the new cigars that they have in their 48-foot walk-in humidor, the Alec Bradley Gatekeeper No. 7, the Punch Knuckle Buster, and also Leather Rose Petite Corona. From Knuckle Buster to Petite Corona, they have those cigars inside the 48-foot walk-in humidor. Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne, cigar aficionados, they understand the business. They have fresh coffee beans. Cowboys is a huge hit and a flavor that people like. And on top of that, when I was there the other day, There's a man, an older gentleman, probably about my age, that was buying a pipe and maybe some of what he needed to use as far as what he was going to smoke in his pipe. My grandfather, back in a long time ago, smoked a cigar. It's pretty neat little aroma, like back in the day when fresh coffee was being percolated, like back in the day. And smoking a cigar or pipe, it's great. They have all of that for you. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. Tell Ashley, Carol, and Cheyenne Smokey sent you in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, which college football team do you guys think is in a free fall?
Free fall?
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
All right, Wisconsin. Yeah. Jennifer Smoak is the Wisconsin fantasy football with 3 consecutive weeks of gut-wrenching and in certain ways frustrating performances by players, injuries that have hurt her as well. Jennifer, 1-3. If we had a fantasy football league hot seat for coaches who could be fired, you'd be on it? How are we going to turn your team around? What's going on? How can it get better?
Dad, are you really comparing me to a losing college football team? Okay, we can get better by my players getting better. Like I said before, I had Christian McCaffrey out. I had my kicker Nick Folk got hurt, and then I also had Julio Jones out, Sterling Shepard out. Every single player, like every single one of my star players has been hurt. Also including another one of my wide receivers, Claypool. So, as soon as all these guys decide that they don't want to be babies anymore and get back on my roster, then I can hopefully start winning again. As soon as they all started dropping out, that's when I started losing. And when I'm losing, we're talking about, a small dividend of points when I'm losing. So it's been heart-wrenching, but, again, it's fantasy, and it's the way that fantasy works. So I'm just rolling with the punches.
I'm going to make 2 points here, one of them that she'll like and one of them that she won't. I'll start with a good one.
Wait, Paul, first of all, I did not say that you had not been helping me, but I don't think I have to tell you that. As a matter of fact, I've been beating myself up for not listening to your recommendation. So, anyways.
She did not. So I'll skip the Cordell Patterson thing.
Well, no, you're not going to skip it. Why did you not pick him up?
Dad, first of all, I said, I told you guys that I was trying to make a trade with Macy because she had about 5 to 6 really good running backs on her team. So after we get off the show, I did wait a day and I went to go pick him up, and she had picked him up. In the middle of me trying to do a trade with her, she goes and picks up another running back that I really needed. And I was going to pick him up. Unfortunately, she got to him before me. And I was also trying to figure out, because there were some schemes I was trying to do with the team I already had, and I just waited a little bit too long to get him. Was also trying to figure out who I was going to drop, because even though I have some injuries, these guys are still big players when they come back, and so I couldn't risk losing some of them. But yeah, she goes and picks him up, and then had him on her bench last week, and we never did a trade. So that's why I didn't get him. That's all I got with that.
But to be fair, she has so many cues by the names of her roster that it looks like these guys would storm the Capitol. So,
she has what?
There are all these cues.
Oh, okay.
Some people will get that joke, other people
questionable.
won't.
Okay.
Questionable, Dad.
All right.
It's questionable.
But yeah, there's a lot of injuries on your team. Maybe Christian McCaffrey is back this week, and I'm just looking on the waiver wire for you, Jen.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot of reaches this week. Maybe Jamison Crowder, if you needed a wide receiver. It looks like the Jets might do some things in London this week against the Falcons, since the Falcons are also really bad. Alex Collins might play tonight, but that's a decision you'd have to make today and play him tonight in case Chris Carson doesn't play. So maybe too much risk there.
Yeah, I know. It's just, and like even Christian, they said he practiced or had a limited practice yesterday, and he's hopeful to be back for the game, but it'll be a game time decision. And it's like, as I'm not even going to get excited until I see him in a uniform with the ball in his hand. And even then, it's like I really don't even want him to, hurry back, because I don't want him to re-injure it. So it's just, these guys are stressing me out. They really are. And now this week I'm playing one of the hardest teams in our league, if you've taken a gander at that. Like she's 3-1. I'm playing Kara with a K this week. And, her roster is just stacked. So it's going to be another big matchup. And I just hope that I can pull this win off, because I'm tired of losing.
All right, Jennifer Smoak with us on Thursdays at 5:30.
Hi, Jen. I don't really have anything to add to this conversation, but you probably know that, right?
Hi, Bubba.
Hi.
Yeah, Bubba. I know, Bubba.
Okay.
I still love you.
Tell Oreo I said hi.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I will. No.
This week, though.
And Dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just going to say to my dad that, your Redskins once again have screwed me over. And McLaurin last week with that huge throw into the, how many guys on your team are just going to have their quarterback just throw it up into the end zone and it just fall in their hands? That's another play that really messed me up, because if he wouldn't have gotten that touchdown, I probably would have won the game. I went into Monday night with she had Peyton Barber because last minute before the game started on Sunday, she had Dalvin Cook on her bench, and he was said that he was going to play, so she didn't end up putting him into her roster. She left Peyton Barber, who she had as a backup when Cook got hurt, and or she had him on her bench, and so then she put him in when Cook got hurt. And so I was so excited, and then Dalvin Cook, I think, got less than 5 points, and we went into the Monday night game. She had Peyton Barber. I had Darren Waller. I needed about 22 points, something like that, and of course, so I hear on the radio or on the TV that Barber has gone into the medical tent, and I'm like, oh my God. And then Darren Waller, Carr was struggling getting the ball down, and it just looked like one of those games where I was just like, oh gosh, this is going to be another Monday night nightmare. And then Darren Waller gets a touchdown. He's got about 16 points, and then they couldn't do anything with the ball after that. And that's when I realized it was just another one of those teasing Monday nights where you think you could possibly win. Barber came back in for one snap, and still I couldn't do it because Carr, for some reason, couldn't be accurate for his life. So it's been tough, guys. It's been really tough.
Okay, so Christian McCaffrey started practicing. I was on the phone with Coach Rule over the weekend, and he is going to probably force him back early because of your fantasy team. You are going to start him, right? Or is there a chance at the last second that they decide not to play him?
I don't know. That's between Rule and McCaffrey. I mean, I hope that they play him, but then again, I don't want him to play and be limited or re-injure himself. If at the very last second, the good news is if at the very last second they decide not to play him, at least I still have Hubbard, which that's not saying much at this point, but at least I still have him. So it's not like I have to try to pick somebody else back up. It's just going to be one or the other, more than likely, that I put in depending on what they say.
All right, Paul, right now with her roster, and it's a mess because of what she's mentioned, some because of productivity, but also because of the injuries. She's not favored to win. She's in a high-scoring shootout, perhaps. What? There's nothing there? There's no Cordell Patterson she can turn down this week?
No, there's not. And I got to tell you, Jen, I'm not optimistic about the team you're playing this week with Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, TJ Hawkinson, and Justin Tucker.
Yeah, I know. Me neither.
How did she end up with all of those players and you have maybe two people?
Exactly. Dad, that's the question I've been asking myself since I've been staring at her roster. That's exactly. And you know what? She was, I believe she picked 8th or 9th in the draft. Anybody that goes 8th or 9th out of 10 is already dreading it. I even remember her text whenever I announced what the order was. She was like, I hate my spot. Yeah, really? Well, try being in mine. So she has an amazing team. And, of course, I do feel like Josh Allen hasn't really had the type of year that people were expecting him to have, but he's still playing on a ridiculous level. And the fact that the Bills have such a good defense that he hasn't had to get in many shootouts with teams. But, of course, he's still, this week he's going against the Chiefs. So, obviously, that could potentially be a shootout. Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. I mean, my boyfriend told me to draft him instead of McCaffrey, and I really need to start listening to him. And also, Tyreek Hill, he's one of the most dangerous players in fantasy to me. And he can have a slow week or he can explode for 50 points. And this will be the week he explodes for 50 points.
Well, he did that last week, so.
Well, he'll do it again this week, that he's playing me. And then CD, besides week 1, he's had a relatively slow start, so he's due for a huge game. And a lot of it, too, are my matchups. It's like the people that I'm playing and the players that they have playing. It's like last week, I'm playing Goddard. Her tight end starter was Gronk. And then she puts in Goddard. Oh, let's give him a touchdown. No big deal. Throw it to him 3 times in a row. Get him 16 points. That'll be great. It's just a joke, But, I'm a fighter. I'm going to still make my adjustments. I am killing myself over not getting Cordero Patterson, though. And I want to ask you, Paul, so whenever Macy picked up Cordero Patterson, she dropped Kenny Golladay. So I picked up Kenny Golladay, being the fact that I need people that aren't injured. And Kenny Golladay did have a great week last week. He had he got me 19 points, had 6 catches, 119 yards. And a lot of that was due to the fact Shepard and Slayton were not playing because of their injuries. So I do want to know, how long do you think, though? And by the way, is Cordero a wide receiver or a running back? Because last week he looked like a wide receiver.
He's very unique.
Yeah,
very unique to have on your team. So 3 touchdowns. When Julio Jones played for Atlanta for 10 years, he never scored 3 touchdowns in one game. So, and I have Julio Jones. Woo! He's doing nothing. So, what do you think about that, Paul? You think Cordero Patterson's going to keep this up?
I think that he's the only thing they've got going in that offense right now, especially this week.
Yeah.
Mike Davis has been terrible. Calvin Ridley's not going to London.
No.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that
Well, Calvin Ridley got Taylor points last week when I played him. So.
Yeah, and now he's not going to London. So, again, I think Galladay's a solid pickup. I think he's got a matchup with the Cowboys defense that gives up a lot of yards and can give up some points. They're kind of doing it all on turnovers and sacks. So,
all right, we got to get to something.
And let me say something else.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know Urban Meyer's really distracted in the bars with 20-year-olds, but if he doesn't learn, besides the lesson he learned this last week, another lesson he needs to learn is give James Robinson the ball. I mean, it's ridiculous. A lot of, I feel like, they were up. I feel like James Robinson had a great week last week, and the Jaguars had something going early in the first. Oh my gosh. The Jaguars had something going early last week as they went into halftime with 14-0. But a lot of that was due to them feeding James Robinson the ball. And then they come out in the second half and they basically abandon the running game. And Robinson only touched the ball 6 times in the second half. And it's like, give James Robinson the ball. Do y'all not agree with me? It's like, give him the ball.
He already had his plans. His mind was on something else. And so,
yeah, clearly.
Hey,
yeah.
So here, the chat room. We've got to do this. J.G. Neolardo, when you're called Bubba on the air. From Caden, Craig got love, Bubba. Dad got grief. Joey Foster, can we start calling Craig Bubba?
Oh, God.
From JG, I'm the eldest of 3, the only male, and I have 2 younger sisters. Love the love on this conversation. From Bob Williams, answer this. Do the Smokes remind y'all of the Bundys? Just asking. From Caden, Craig, Bubba Smoke. Chris, Jennifer cracks me up. She reminds me of my saltiness when my guys play poorly as well.
Look, Chris, Gary Lewis, a no blank legit sports fan, and Chris says she's the most intense female fantasy football player I have ever seen.
Yeah. Beer smoker 4444. Trade Christian for value if you can get it. Paul needs a family nickname. Caden, I feel sorry for Craig. His childhood must have been a nightmare.
Oh my God!
Best comment. I'm a super chat you.
That guy.
From JG, if Craig is Bubba, Paul is Boo Boo.
Bubba and Boo Boo in the mornings.
From Gary, you already mentioned that.
That'd be a great morning show. I'll tell you right now.
From Gary, I like how she got the most fired up when describing her fantasy nemesis and what she did with the trade, picking up, who was it, off the waivers. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I know, y'all. It gives me. I get so worked up. I get so much anxiety, but I can't help it. I hate to lose, but I also love football so much, and I just want to have one happy Sunday. Can I just have one happy Sunday, please?
Yes, because we then would have one happy Sunday. From Chris, Craig, tell Jennifer to grab the backup Chicago running back. Montgomery just got hurt. Is that right, Paul? Is that true?
I did. I picked up Damian Williams, but then I thought he was hurt too.
Oh,
well, I think he's going to play a lot sooner than
Damian Williams,
Montgomery,
former Sooner, who had a big Red River rivalry game, and that's just kind of fitting with the timing of this week that Damian Williams gets brought up. Remember his long run against Texas a few years ago? Yeah, so that piece of advice, thank you for that, but she's already done that apparently.
Yeah, here's some more. Jennifer, let's see. Jennifer Smoak for LSU job. My girlfriend is scared of ladybugs. That's from ammonia. I don't get Jennifer on Colin Cowherd's show. Oh, my God.
I would love that. I want to be that girl that sits with him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
it's been like 5 different people, I think. So I would name whoever that is, but I don't even know who it is at this point. But yeah, he has had a rotating
I think
cast.
it's. I'm not going to guess right now. She's got. No, I'm not.
Here's another one. Tell Hayden to change those screen name tags. I don't know what that is about.
Because instead of saying like Craig, it would say Bubba.
Oh, Bubba. Okay. Yeah. So Bubba, David, and Boo Boo. That's the name of our. Who do you pick to win West Virginia Baylor? Joey wants to know.
Baylor. sure.
Okay. All right. Thank
Bears, baby. And by the way, y'all, it's actually Bubba Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, just make sure you.
Thank you.
I'm worried. Yeah.
That was sweet of you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
It's not Bubba. It's Bubba Bear.
It's my Bubba Bear.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Jennifer, can you tell the story about the time you were sitting on the
All
sink
right.
in the bathroom when your
Dad,
t-shirt
I got
caught
it.
up?
Dad, I'm getting another call, so I gotta
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
go. All right, love you guys. Bye.
And then from ammonia, dang it, Smoke, you weren't supposed to say that.
Yeah.
So she
Yeah,
can
we
hear
need
you.
to get you
A filter.
Yes, very much so on the chat room, because you're bound to read off something you don't need to read off at some point.
And I'm now being called, I'm Bubba Bear, Boo Boo, and I'm Yogi.
Yogi.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. She's called me that our whole lives.
Forever.
I don't even know where it came from, quite honestly.
I just can't wait to go on and get a nice cool FM morning gig and be like, y'all listen to Bubba and Boo Boo in the morning. We got George Strait coming at you, but our big question is Egg McMuffin or Burger King?
Yeah.
What do you like?
Hey, what is that? I'm getting a call from Waco 100 right now.
When we come back, let Craig tell the story about Bubba Bear.
Oh, I don't know where that came from. I have no idea, even when she first called me that or anything. It's always been that way. I don't have a story for it, but
Just started calling you
yeah.
that. All right.
I thought he was going to say tell the story that you were starting to tell.
No, that was.
She accidentally sat next to a candle.
Okay, in a bathroom.
Had
on
a
the
big.
sink.
Okay, one of us can
Yeah,
tell it.
you
Okay,
tell it.
so she had a big baggy shirt on, like how you'd wear to sleep or
Yeah.
whatever. And my mom was it was a bathroom with a door for like the toilet area and then the sink area. And so my mom was in the toilet area, I guess using the bathroom or whatever, and Jennifer was sitting on the counter talking to her about whatever. And Jennifer was like probably 8 or 9 years old. And next thing you know, we just start hearing screaming and go running into the bathroom, and we hear somebody going, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. Her dumb self had in this big baggy t-shirt sat on the bathroom counter to talk to my mom, not realizing there's a lit candle, and the candle caught that loose t-shirt and just went up in flames, and she had to get not stomped out. We had to stamp out the flames and all that, and just this burnt white t-shirt was all that was remaining.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's had a few self-inflicted
But she was
accidents.
sitting next to the sink.
Yeah, she's sitting next to the sink and was screaming
Turn
about
the
being on
water
fire. I did leave that part out. Yeah, she was right next
That's
to.
the best part.
It was actually 2 sinks. There was one on either side of her, and she was just screaming about being on fire. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, from Chris in Missouri, Smokey, want a quick public service announcement. The sleep apnea, the Philips machine, they are recalling them because the foam is causing lung and kidney cancer. It sucks getting old. So, Chris, thank you for the public service announcement. I'm not sure about that. A lot of people use the machines when they go to sleep at night. When we come back, Paul's Top 5. Save us on 365 Sports.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons. It has hundreds of thousands.
It's personal service. Okay. It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dittaker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dittaker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Champion Salon and Barber. Book your appointment online. 2 locations in Waco, championsalonandbarber.com. Top 5 players in college football we weren't talking about a month ago. Just kind of doing a thing where I look through the stats and see who's leading in different categories, and there's tons of guys having great seasons that a month ago, nobody even knew who they were, unless you were a fan of that particular team. So number 5, Jaquan McMillan, cornerback, East Carolina. One of the 3 guys tied for the lead in interceptions this year, having a fantastic year, and certainly moving up the charts for East Carolina. So wanted to give him some love. Jaquan McMillan from East Carolina, a school that we've often heard mentioned by people from that region of, please call us for the Big 12, but I don't think it's going to happen.
And I did mention this. When there was the talk of expansion in the Big 12, but they weren't in the first phase, and they really weren't in the second phase, but at least I think the Big 12 at least, didn't sit there and go, no, we're not interested. There were some quiet, unofficial visits to places like that, and I had mentioned Southern Miss and a couple of others. East Carolina, that's Jeff Blake's school, right? The former quarterback to play with the Bengals. So is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I have not watched nearly as much ECU as I did a couple years back when Shane Carden. I think somebody can correct me there. I believe it was Shane Carden was the quarterback because he was from Texas. So I was following his stats on a weekly basis, and he put up really good numbers when he was at ECU. A lot of Texas guys at that point. But, yeah, hey, Jaquan McMillan, I'll be on the lookout for him. If I hear his name from now on, I'll be like, yeah, Jaquan McMillan.
I believe he has 4 interceptions already this year. Number 4, Javon Solomon, defensive lineman from Troy, leads the nation in sacks right now. And really tearing it up there at Troy. Someone to keep an eye on. Not a guy, he's a defensive end, not a super big defensive end, but quick, gets up the line really well, and is terrorizing quarterback so far this year.
Yeah. I haven't seen much of him. I have not. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, these are new names for me as well. Like you said, they are names that have not been talked about a lot. I did see where he was added to the McNair list, so off to a good start. And you see a lot of those award lists getting updated throughout the year, so that's a good sign.
At number 3, a guy who is running through the Big Ten right now, Kenneth Walker, running back at Michigan State. This dude's good.
Yes.
He's real good. And we weren't talking about Michigan State and Mel Tucker at all. We were not talking about them before the season started. They were and also ran in the Big Ten, and now they're right up there in the mix of it. They haven't lost yet. So,
well, I saw them obviously in that comeback win against Nebraska, and their offense didn't do very much, but they won the game. They're unbeaten. Michigan State, and Penn State last year were terrible. Mm-hmm. None of them were above 500, I don't think, and they're 16 or 15-0 right now as they enter this weekend.
Yeah. Number 2, Devin Tompkins, wide receiver, Utah State. I believe maybe second to Drake London from USC in receiving right now. And, I know Utah State not tearing up the charts, but Devin Tompkins is not the reason for it. So he's having a great season.
Yeah, who's the Biletnikoff favorite at this point? I mean, I hate throwing out questions that we have not touched on at all.
I'm on that.
But I just randomly spurted that out because I'm totally lost on. I haven't kept track with any of that stuff, but I would have to imagine he's getting some consideration. Utah State, another program that I followed a lot closer a couple of years ago when they had far more Texas guys on their roster, and I think that might have been when Matt Wells was there, maybe, or I can't quite recall. But okay, yeah.
I've got the list, but it's long.
I'm just saying who'd be the favorite. I
Dotson
honestly
from
don't
Penn
know.
State?
Yeah, he would be.
Would he be one?
Yeah, he'd have to be. He'd have to be one.
Or
yeah.
Olave from Ohio State.
Yeah,
he's really good.
Too. Yeah,
and
we haven't heard much from Hutchinson from Iowa State. He's on the list. Who did you say, Paul? Yeah, Chris Olave, Penn State.
Yeah, no, those two, Dotson and Olave.
What about Wilson
definitely.
from Ohio State?
He's been okay.
Olave's been better.
He's been way better. And Garrett Wilson hasn't been producing numbers as much as I was kind of expecting him to. I mean, he's been fine. He's just not. I was kind of expecting him to be like Olave, on that same level, and he's not quite at that level.
Well, you can only have one.
Right.
I mean, even if say he and Olave have the same exact skill set, there's only one football. So
and there's a couple of others. Justin Ross is not. They're not doing anything.
No,
offensively.
the two that you mentioned are right up there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Marvin Mims is a guy I thought would be right in the middle of that mix, but they're not having explosive plays.
No. And number 1, Kenny Pickett, quarterback at Pitt, is having a year.
Yeah.
He is absolutely having a year so far, and not throwing interceptions, throwing a lot of touchdown passes, racking up some yards. And Pitt is, the favorite, one of the favorites in the ACC now, and nobody thought that a month ago.
No, I don't think anybody. I mean, if they did, then raise your hand and we'll acknowledge that you were predicting Pitt to be having a Heisman contender. I mean, I've seen and read and heard a lot about Kenny Pickett, so he wasn't like a new name like some of these are where I'm just like, okay, so I know a little bit about him. But, yeah, it's like our caller said the other day. He's had an exceptional year so far. It's been a great run for Pitt, and, he's not, I don't think, getting like a ton of that Heisman type of love or that sort of deal, but he probably deserves to. I mean, with what he's doing right now.
One other name that was on the chat room, in our chat room, people are amazing. It was Drake London from USC.
Yeah.
48 catches.
Yeah, he has to be
averaging
on there.
14 yards a catch and 4 touchdowns for a team that obviously is not getting a lot of attention right now because they're not playing all that well.
And before we have some rant, because I can already see it coming, like some Ohio State fan that says, like I said, Garrett Wilson wasn't that good, or something. No, he's damn good. He's really good, but he's just, there's another guy who's even better on his own team, but Garrett Wilson's been totally fine this year, and I think has scored nearly every game at this point.
All right, Paul, there you go.
Yeah,
I like
Kenny Pickett, we'll see how it lasts, but he definitely deserves probably more attention than he's getting. I agree with that.
And I said this a couple of times today. We have a writer who covers Pittsburgh, the Pitt Panthers. He'll join us tomorrow. As part of our guest lineup, we'll be live at Panther Stadium High School football tomorrow night, but we'll be there with our regular show from 3 until 6. For Jack McKenzie, happy birthday to Jack. Also, Armstrong Sims, who was a part of what was the name of the show, Armstrong, that you were a part of when you interned in Birmingham? Isn't that right?
It's Feinbaum.
No, it was Big D and Bubba, whatever
it's
it
called
was.
Rick and Bubba.
Rick and Bubba.
Someone mentioned it in the chat,
yeah.
And so that was my job before this job.
That was part of what you did.
Did you like Rick and Bubba or Feinbaum better?
I think Feinbaum's kind of a jerk.
Okay.
Or he just comes off that way. I don't know. As a person.
No, gotcha.
Rick and Bubba are like the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Gotcha.
He comes off that way because he is, but yeah.
I've been nice to Armstrong.
Craig's been nice Rick and Bubba are nicer than Smokey and Paul, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Thank you, Armstrong. Great way to end the show today.
That wasn't very.
Well said.
Armstrong's still mad because when Oreo was here last Friday, I just ignored him.
He got the brush off completely.
Yeah. Hey, one quick note at the Brazos Parking, the Sikkim 365. Our tailgate will include, there's a meet and greet, take a picture with the Baylor men's basketball team. They'll be there before that West Virginia game, 8:30 to 10:30 at the Brazos Parking. No autographs, but there can be pictures, I believe, selfies with the players on the upcoming Baylor men's basketball team. All right, for everybody that has been a part of this show today, from behind the scenes to in front of the scenes to you on the chat room, the text messages, and much more, gave away the table for 6 for Oktoberfest, thanks to City of Waco and Jesse Reed. I'm David Smoak, back at it tomorrow at 3. Sikkim 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.